you all. It's myself and Alexa, who some of you have probably met before, that are going to be hosting the workshop today. So again, thank you all for coming. Just a couple of little things. If you can turn your cameras on, it's really good for us to be able to see you, for everybody else to see who's in the workshop, and just for us to sort of interact with each other a little bit better. Obviously, if connection issues don't allow, then it's not a problem. I can see most of you are already muted. If you can just try and keep yourselves muted just throughout when we're talking, just so we don't pick up any background noise, really. If you do have questions throughout, we usually just like it if you can raise your hand on here, or you can just type something in the chat box as well. We have got a section at the end for Q&A, but obviously if you do have questions that you want to ask throughout and you're not sure of something, then like I said, just pop something in the chat box and we'll just try and answer it as we go along. So I'll just show you the agenda for today. So this is kind of what we're looking at. We're going to be finishing up around about 5 o'clock roughly today. So we're going to be looking, as you can see, through social media strategies, what type of goals to set, audience, competition, channels you can use, optimizing your presence on social media, and sort of looking at paid advertising, that sort of thing as well. We are going to have 3 breakout sessions. So that just means we're going to put you into different groups and get you to work on certain areas as we go through to then finally get into to create sort of your social media posts. You should have all received an email from us that contained a few different things. So it had something written about case studies, and there was the most valuable customer and competitor grid. So you should have received all of that by email. Is there anyone that didn't get it? If you can just let me know, just pop something in there. But you will be working in groups, so don't worry too much if you haven't got it. It was just trying to get you to have a look at it before we started. That's fine, Carolina, thanks for letting us know. Okay, if you haven't received anything, we are going to look at dividing you into groups, and you will have it there. So it's something we're going to work on all together. So just a little bit quickly about the team. I know a lot of you have already been to a lot of our workshops and events before, so you've probably met us all and probably sick of hearing about us all. But me and Alexa, your hosts today, we've got Andy, who's our head of startups, Christian, who's our enterprise assistant, and then we also have our entrepreneurs in residence, James and Magda. So they do work with us a few days a week on workshops and one-to-ones as well. All of us with our own business experience, so that's why sort of we bring these workshops to you just from sort of our own knowledge and skills that we've learned over the years, really. So what I think we'll do is I'll probably just jump straight into it. So because of how much we've got packed into this today, we haven't got any icebreakers. We're just going to jump straight in and just discuss sort of the first section. So what is a social media strategy, basically? I just wanted to put it out to you guys first of all. Is there anybody here that already knows what a social media strategy is? That's got a bit of an idea that you wanted to just tell the room, sort of, what do you think it is? If anyone wants to, you can pop something in. If you don't know, it's fine.
Is it part of your marketing strategy? So obviously it's not your whole marketing strategy, but it's about, I guess, having a plan of what to post, when to post it, and I suppose the reasons for posting it as well. So I guess there's also part of like actually looking at the results of it as well.
Yeah, so that's a really good answer, Elena, thank you. It is essentially that. It is, all of this is like a combination of sort of like your marketing strategies, your social media, everything like that. It all is a combined sort of effort, basically. So it is setting out that plan, like you mentioned, on what you want to achieve on social media. So how will you use social media and through which sort of supporting platform? Because obviously we're going to come to this. There's a lot of different platforms you can use right now to reach that target audience, and how to improve sort of your customer conversion rates. It also helps you guide sort of your actions and understand where you're succeeding or failing. So like you mentioned as well, it gets you to be able to sort of see which areas might work for you and which areas don't. So it's a great thing to have in place so that you can actually plan out, this is what I want to achieve. by this amount of time, and you can see by doing X, Y, and Z that it's actually working, but actually one of these avenues doesn't work for my type of business. So as you'll all know, social media right now, we know it's like the forefront of everybody's life. It's such a crucial role in connecting people, developing relationships, and especially, you know, now more than ever, because obviously the last year, we know it's played a massive role in our lives because we haven't been able to have that face-to-face connection. So the social media side of things for any business right now is so important to try and actually work on that strategy and build your customer relationships and develop through that. So on the next slide that I've got coming up, so basically you'll be able to see, this is just a little snapshot that I took of there's roughly about 45 million active social media users in the UK. So that is a huge amount that you think your business that you could try and reach. Obviously, we wouldn't expect you to reach every single one of those because they're not all going to be your demographic or your customer target, but you're thinking about that is that amount of people that are currently active on social media. There's probably a lot more that have got accounts, but they're sort of dormant and they don't really use them. But you're also looking at who these type of people are. So you're looking at sort of the 15 to 25-year-olds make up about 97% of all social media profiles. So you're thinking again there, you know, you can see there's so many people that are using it, but that is, you know, that small gap that you're looking at of who is actually using it. So this may help you when you're looking at your business and who you're targeting on through which platforms, basically. So this is what I'm saying about how valuable social media can be. You can also see just on this slide here about the most popular platforms that they use. So you're probably all familiar with these, but this could factor in when you're deciding things like this. So you can find out this sort of stuff just online. You can literally, you know, Google these sort of things to get this sort of data and analytics, just to give you a really good idea of what's popular. So you can see sort of YouTube's, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, they're all very high up there on the sort of stuff that is relevant and current for people with social media marketing and what people are actually using and looking at. And obviously you've got a few of the newer ones that are coming out. TikTok's quite low down on the list, but I think probably all of you would have seen so much going on with TikTok, especially in the last year, I would say. So I think that's on the rise as well for advertising and business promotion and everything. So on to our next slide, please. Alexa's just doing the slides for today. So obviously, like I said, it's used more than ever at the moment. Not many businesses tend to target audiences as much through sort of print media, and obviously word of mouth is very valuable, but again, difficult in these times. So as we're sort of targeting this at the moment to sort of the online era right now, where we're kind of still staying at home, but it's just a really good approach. And what I've put on here is just, you don't need to have necessarily that really big budget that you would used to have for TV, radio advertising, print media, all that sort of thing, where you had to have quite a huge budget to be able to market that business and have an actual strategy where you might do repeat sort of adverts, or, you know, something to go out every week or something like that. Whereas the majority of your social media advertising is in fact free, which is fantastic. And you can do quite a lot. And we're going to touch over this in the next few bits that we're talking about what you can actually do for free on each of these sites. And then Alexa's going to discuss about you could actually go into the paid advertising. So as much as you can, I would do for free to start with. So it is a lot easier for your customers. So if I could just go on to the next slide. Right, so this is just an example, basically. When you're using your social media to advertise your business, it's really great for your customers, obviously, whoever they are, to be able to connect with you. And sort of because you don't have that face-to-face connection with people, you really need to sort of streamline that through into your business and get that across via the internet, which is obviously sometimes very difficult. So this is just an example of how we can not be so disconnected maybe, and try and create a better customer base, create loyal customers, customer satisfaction, engaging with them. And you'll probably all remember, you know, a little while ago when Coke did do this sort of thing, where Coca-Cola, they brought out these sort of bottles and cans that had people's names on them, and then they've got ones like this where you've got mum and dad and stuff like that. It's just a really nice way to be able to engage with your customers directly. I mean, this is just an example that you could use just to sort of personalize something. So you can use that sort of thing throughout your social media strategy to sort of just, you know, get your customers seeing what you're offering, but also that you're catering to them. So personalization, that sort of thing. Yeah, if you can just go on to the next slide there for me, please. So this is just another example that I've brought up as well. So this is a really great skincare and beauty website. So basically what they're offering here, so their strategy, this is their website, but they're having sort of, if you had your social media pages, wherever you've got them, and you've got like your click-through links to a website as well, it is great for increasing your visibility and your sales. And it's sort of showing, you know, the rates from statistics, I think from rates from Facebook have increased by 18% since 2013, just click-through rates. So that sort of thing is great to have, that you're linking to this website. So this website here is, we're saying about a great advertising campaign could basically help you resonate, have a customer community base, like we said, have an online community, making your customers feel like they are part of something. So this one, for example, they've probably got, you know, thousands and thousands of customers, but it's nice to make them feel valued and part of that brand. So they've got examples of, you can become part of the ELF beauty squad. So what does it get you? You earn free gifts on your birthday, you get money off, you get points when people sign up, that sort of thing. So it's making it an exclusive sort of thing for your memberships. So if you're saying, you know, become part of our community, and you know, you can get all these benefits, and it's a great way to interact with your customers through social media. And obviously this is just another one through a platform on the website. So other ways are basically asking your customers. So when they become members and they get incentives, it's really great to be able to ask your audience questions. So sort of getting their opinions on new products, or looking for stuff you might be looking to launch, and trying to reach out to them. So with this sort of thing, they might actually be, you know, saying, if you try this product, could they give you a free gift if you order over £25? So you're getting to try that product and they want your feedback on it. So that sort of thing is really great, just to get that following. And it's reaching out to them through social media as well. So it's not, you know, you could do things like sharing of your followers' posts. So not just sharing your posts, but following other people and then sharing theirs. They can see that connection, that you have that customer base. So it's not just all about you as your business. And it is keeping you visible and relevant as well. So you're not just waiting for those likes and shares, basically. This next slide here is just showing us the diversity of content. So it's really in your strategy, making sure you're looking at not using anything irrelevant that doesn't align with your values. We've talked about values in past workshops that we've done, but it's sort of aligning what you think for your business, your values and your goals with the platform that you might choose to use. So it's about obviously keeping it up to date, the fresh content that's driven to your target audience. So you can use different media. So we've got a couple of examples here. Obviously, you probably all know the sort of things you can use, but you've got your videos, photos, podcasts. You can even obviously do like your live streams, which are really great online to sort of get that instant reaction. And you can see all the people that are watching and things like that. So I would always make sure when you're engaging with them, and your content that you're posting as well, it isn't just about you making money. You can obviously post things that you're selling or things you're trying to promote, but also you can look at things that are just like newsworthy events that might be in relation to your business. So you might be somebody that's in sort of ethical, sustainable, like makeup, for example, but you wanted to show a news story that was about sort of like, you know, plastic waste and on the beaches and stuff like that. So if it's relevant to what you're trying to bring across and your values and goals, then you can share things like that as well. So not just sort of just getting across your products and services, something that translates basically. And I think this will help you just engage with your customers a little bit more. You can also put on like your tips and tricks sort of thing for how to apply a certain type of makeup or something like that. So it's just keeping all your content really fresh and just up to date, and just making it you know, not just pushing those sales, because I know all of us will probably, you know, we've had times where we've had so much social media marketing chucked at us, or we get, you know, the WhatsApps and all of that coming through, and a lot of the time it does feel quite pushy. So we want to just make sure that we are engaging with those customers as well, not just pushing everything on them. So just another thing I think was onto our next slide is your budget as well. So you basically, what I did say, a lot of social media marketing that you can do is free, but some of it is worth for using, you know, paid advertising as well. But it is about costing it up, what you can afford to spend on that marketing. So this is about you having your strategy and your plan. So thinking about what you expect as your return on investment as well. So what are your goals sort of to get 100 new followers? Do you want to get, you know, 20 page shares, 15 new customers? Depending on that goal and your strategy, you can outline that to see, you know, what's in that budget. Maybe for the first, you know, 6 months, we'll just focus on raising awareness and getting new people, which you could do probably quite easily just through free advertising. But then you want to start getting your actual customers. So then you could look into potentially, you know, getting that paid advertising a bit later on. A couple of these options on the next slide is like your brand advocates. So everyone's obviously heard of like influencers. I'm not necessarily saying use influencers because they can be very costly, I know that. But it's just people that will want to speak about your product or your service, that are passionate about it because they love it. So that can be through, you know, just friends and family or people that you know have bought products off of you, and asking them to sort of be a brand advocate for you, getting them to speak out. So on a lot of our social media platforms now, you know, you can get reviews, you can get you know, ratings, that sort of thing, where people can leave comments on sort of what they've had from you. One of the things I would say as well, it's really, you know, a lot of the time if you're using something yourself, so I think these customers, that's what you want, because they're using it, you've used it. It's just about knowing your products as well. So if there's anything you're actually physically selling, I think you need to be that forefront of it, so you're actually physically using those products. You probably see a lot of this on Instagram, I think, as well, where you'll get people that are promoting stuff, but they don't necessarily use it. And I think then you've got that line there where you think, well, actually they're just promoting it because it's just a sales pitch, you know, they're getting paid for it. So this is where I think sort of your friend or family member coming in because they have actually used these things and promoting it for you, and you doing it yourself, showing how you might use something every day and how it helps you in everyday life, that sort of thing. So it doesn't necessarily have to come at a cost to you. On to our next slide, we have got basically looking at the right channels. We're going to discuss these a bit later on today, but part of that strategy, you know, is quite an important bit about choosing the right channel, because a lot of the time people think, okay, right, we've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. I've got so many to choose from. If I just put my stuff on all of those, I'm definitely going to get some customers. It doesn't necessarily work like that, because you're putting all that time and energy into promoting that on so many different channels. You probably then won't be reaching your right target audience. So you need to be in your strategy thinking like who that customer is, where is that customer most likely to be looking on social media, what time of day would they be looking, you know, what is it they're after, what, you know, do they want to look at a video, do they want to look at a photo, what sort of content are they actually interested in? And you wouldn't be able to, you know, put as much time and effort into making that content really good if you're putting it over 10 different platforms. So if you're trying to maybe look at it on a scale of maybe using 3 that are really prominent to your customers and giving them really good, decent content to look at. So obviously you don't want to be wasting any time, money or resources by doing that. Basically you can, I would say when you're looking at, obviously, again, like I said, choosing the right channel, it's just being mindful of where you're promoting stuff. So depending on what you guys are looking for your business, say if you've got like a financial app, you probably wouldn't be looking to promote that on something like Pinterest, because that probably wouldn't be the best platform. So you'd probably be looking at something like LinkedIn or Twitter, that type of thing, for a different type of audience. So you can look at the engagement that you currently have on these social media channels as well. So if you're thinking about yourself, think about what platforms you're currently on, what engagement do you have, even if it's just your personal pages, and look at what works where. So maybe for something that you might be currently interested in, what do you buy right now, and how have you found it? Like, have you found it on an Instagram advert? Has it been on a, is it been through like a TikTok video, you know, something like that? And looking at the sort of engagement that those people get, you can tend to see that sort of information without delving too deep. Obviously, shares, likes, followers, that sort of thing. Have they got links to, you know, click through to websites and stuff like that? So you can first take a look at things, you know, from, they're not necessarily competitors, but it's just things you're interested in right now, and seeing what sort of channels they use to target you as a customer. And then on to just this little section here is about things, what not to do. So it's not, you know, there are a lot of good pointers about using social media, but there can be things that, you know, put people off as well. Like I said before, about maybe getting too much sort of just sell. So as much as you don't want to do that, but you don't want to hide what you're selling either. So you do want to make sure you're talking about your business or your service. You don't want to be overselling or pushing that product, but it is still, you know, at the end of the day, that is what you're there to do. So you just want to make sure it's clear what you are selling, and you know, why you're doing it and your service. So then you can put that on certain platforms that you might use. Maybe Facebook, you can obviously put a little bit more on your, if you had a business page, you can put quite a bit on there of content, so you can actually talk about what it is, then your posts and stuff like that. But if you're posting, obviously, you know, just stories, you can make that relevant without putting too much. But if you're posting sort of grid pictures, you can write little blurbs underneath. So you can do quite a lot with it. So I would say make it clear and relevant without being too pushy. Not posting all the time. So you need to make yourself aware of prime times. Again, this is where I said about which customer you're looking at, the channels, and what sort of times they may be on there. Because you might post something at sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but you might be targeting sort of, you know, mums that are going on the school run, that sort of thing, and they're not looking at their phone at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's sort of thinking about your customer and what are those prime times that you might be targeting them. Flooding your social media again with too many posts, it just makes the customers feel a bit spammed, and sometimes they're just, you know, not interested. And then when you post again something that they might be, you know, relevant to them and they would enjoy, they're not necessarily always going to look at it because they think, yeah, you know, that's something I've seen already. Again, it's another thing really is about not confusing that market with a lot of different things. So depending on what your business is, I wouldn't overwhelm the audience necessarily with too many different, say, products or services all in one go. It's good to sort of build a buzz for like 1 or 2 things to start with. And it's really nice to be able to do that and talk about the same thing, if you like, in like 50 different ways rather than talking about 50 different things. So you could, you know, keep posting those things at the prime times and not too much, but you could still be talking about 1 or 2 things that you actually sell, or 1 or 2 services that you have, but you just find different ways to talk about them. So it might be that I use this product on a daily basis, or so-and-so, or I do this, you know, for my afternoon workout, and I use this sort of energy drink, you know, like whatever it is, but you can make it relevant to people's lives rather than just going, okay, I sell this, and I've got so many different products that it can just sort of, you know, muddy the waters a bit sometimes for people. A consumer, I think, doesn't necessarily want 100 things thrown in their face at once. They do kind of, you know, want to see a few things, but then they do want to see fresh content. So that, again, within your strategy is looking at, you know, what you want to put out there first of all, but seeing, you know, in 3 months' time, I actually then want to start introducing more services and products to that. I would say a lot of people still do this, sort of using clickbait. Like, you've probably seen this where people will go, if you like this post and share this post and follow and tag a person in it, then you could win this sort of thing. And it did work very, very well for a long time through social media. But I don't necessarily think, yes, you'll get extra page likes and things like that and shares, but I do know recently Facebook's cracked down quite a lot on this because they had a lot of complaints, because obviously that can be seen as like spam posts, and people will, you know, just think either it is just a way of getting increase in likes. They're not actually going to get anything, or they just don't like having all that spam. And they can sometimes now, I think, get rid of your posts because of they don't really like those sort of tactics. They say it's negatively affecting So if you did a post like that, you might actually find that it gets taken down on a lot of social media anyway. So it's just the thing, you know, if you want to use it, but it might not necessarily be the best method. And the last little bit is just with your hashtagging can be really great, because you're going to be able to target those certain audiences that are interested in what you're talking about, but just don't overdo it. There is a lot where you see 20 hashtags and it can be so confusing. It can be useful to connect it in the right way, but if you're overdoing it, it again can like spam, but it can be ineffective because sometimes it's not always related to what you're doing. So you might find that it goes into some sort of hashtag and there's a group of people, but it doesn't actually help you get any more sales, if you know what I mean, because it's just sort of seen by somebody and it's not in a relevant post. So there's just a few things there that, you know, just to focus on when you're looking at your strategy, to try not to overdo those things. That is my last little bit on this. So I'm going to pass over to Alexa, and she's going to be looking at your goals for social media as well.
Thank you, Lauren. So yeah, so now I've explored in some detail what a social media strategy is and what we're kind of expecting of ourselves. We'll now have a little deeper look into how to ensure that it works for you. And for this, we need to start setting ourselves meaningful goals. So you need to make sure at the beginning of your planning stage that you set yourself these goals that make sense to you and your business. But why? So for a start, setting goals holds you accountable. An essential element of your social media strategy will be your ROI, or your return on investment. So setting goals for you to aim towards helps give you, you and your content and planning some direction and some focus. So you've set yourself a target you want to reach, and then you work on building content and campaigns to help you reach that goal. And social media can often become, as you probably all know, this huge rabbit hole that you find you get sucked into, and often it can help you not have like a very clear direction. So setting these goals in advance can help you stay on track and understand why you are using the channels you are to benefit your business and its needs primarily. Goals can also guide your budget and any spending that you might find that you do on social media. And this can be really important, particularly for startups whose overall budget may be very limited at this stage. So understanding your goals and how you can meet them will determine if and how you will spend your budget in this area. And it may turn out that you're more focused on content than paid advertising, which is absolutely fine, in which case your budget may be less affected. And we'll talk a bit about paying or not paying later on today. Your goals will also help you to maintain your focus on that all-important data. So it's not just about the content. A data-driven approach to your social media campaigns will help you keep on track to reach your targets. In order to create a high-performing campaign, for example, you must be able to track its success, or not in some cases, in terms of engagement, clicks, and any revenue created. So this awareness that you'll gain from this will then help you to decide on the structure of your future campaigns, or whether your current content needs adjusting to meet the parameters that you've in fact set yourself. So when considering what goals we should set ourselves, the first thing that we need to ask ourselves honestly is, what do I want from my social media? What is it I'm aiming to do? Do you want to build or grow your community in general? Do you want a more dedicated follower, maybe somebody that hangs on your every word? Do you want to increase traffic that is then pushed over to your website? So the good news here is there is no right or wrong answer, as in a lot of our marketing techniques. It comes down to what is best for you and your individual business. So whatever your goals end up being, whatever it is that you set yourself, they will define your entire content strategy and how much time and energy you'll need to dedicate to these specific and individual campaigns. So as this example shows, social marketers' top goals can vary quite a lot depending on the business at hand, but the majority are wanting to increase that brand awareness across social platforms in general, as well as to ultimately boost their sales and their lead generation. So if we look at some examples of social media objectives based on these goals with their associated KPIs or key performance indicators, we can see that raising things like brand awareness or increasing your brand awareness would have KPIs such as increasing followers, making sure you've got a lot of impressions, making sure your traffic is flowing to your website, and your overall reach. So you'll be looking at those kind of KPIs to determine whether your campaigns are supporting your overall objective of raising your brand awareness. And as it's among the top, as it's at the top of the list of the goals amongst today, it's also the broadest. So it really requires more of a long game attitude when you're trying to fulfill this particular objective. Also, the goal can be achieved in various ways and to various extents. Ultimately, you want your brand leaving a lasting impression with your target audience. That's the main aim with this, but as we've said, it could take a lot longer for this particular objective to be reached. Then we've got generating leads and sales. So KPIs for generating leads and sales could be your sales revenue, your lead conversion rate, your non-revenue conversions, and things like email signups, etc. So generating leads and sales via your social media basically means monetizing your content. So how do your posts contribute to increasing your sales of your product or service? And how does that translate in monetary terms? Of course, you can pay for advertising, but you also need to pay specific attention to how you will funnel your social traffic to relevant landing pages, possibly on your website, which creatives and calls to action you're going to use on social media, and who you're targeting with your ads and your sales messages. So another area we might focus on is increasing your community engagement with KPIs such as how many clicks you're getting, how many likes your page has got overall, how many shares of your content you might be getting, comments on those posts, mentions about your business. In order to build that relationship with your target audience, you need to be encouraging these conversations through the content that you post. And this gets people talking about you, and for good reasons, which is what you want, obviously. And likes and shares may seem superficial to start with, but actually they're quite important indicators as to whether your content is resonating with your audience or not. And it also helps you refine your brand tone of voice, which you will have looked at in various other parts of your business startup, particularly your marketing strategy. And it helps make these meaningful connections with your customers. Sorry. So another area of focus could be growing your brand's audience. So KPIs here are again mentions by other people, your total number of followers, and your engagement rate for the content that you're posting. So growing your audience is a given. No matter what platform or how many platforms you operate on, you want to grow your audience. You want to increase your following as much as possible. And this is to reach the larger percentage of your target audience. And with this goal, you'll be focused on figuring out your top performing content. So maximizing your optimal publishing frequency and running campaigns that attract new followers to your account. And then we've got increasing web traffic. So this is pushing people from your social media accounts onto your website for a reason. And the KPIs to monitor there would be the website traffic, link clicks on your social media posts, the conversions you're getting from that, any email signups, and product trials, things like that. So some of your social media goals will be linked to other goals within your business, obviously, particularly your website and its usage amongst your customers. So keeping an eye on how your social media users navigate your website can help you in determining your overall ROI from your social media. Sorry, I do get a bit out of breath when I'm talking. Usually increasing your brand awareness online will translate into increasing your sales, hopefully. Positive engagement from your audience will help encourage them to talk about your business and your products freely amongst their peer groups. And like Lauren said, this offers you further word of mouth marketing and results in the likelihood of new followers and customers. And there is no better marketing technique than word of mouth. It's free, it's the best, it's also the hardest to come by. But if you've got people talking about your social media content, you've got people talking about you. So how do we start setting goals? So first we want to start with looking at the bigger picture and your broad social media marketing objectives in general. So you want to start asking yourself questions like, why is my business even on social media? What am I trying to achieve with the platforms and the channels that I'm using? Understanding this bigger picture will make the smaller areas of focus much less intimidating once you know how they're all going to work together to meet the same end goal. So for example, a startup right at the beginning of their journey would ideally focus on building awareness for a new product, for the new business in general, and generating leads for it. A small business who is just that bit further along in their journey may want to engage local followers in their community, in their local town, in their local area, and optimize their community presence more so. And then once you get further along in your journey to maybe the enterprise level, an enterprise company could focus their goals on providing more timely and substantial customer service through their channels to help boost their customer loyalty. So they've already raised that brand awareness, they've already launched their products, they've already got a nice following and a good community. So now they're just adding that extra level of customer service. And once you've identified these bigger picture goals, you can start, like I said, breaking them down into more manageable tasks and activities that fit into your day-to-day social media output. And a great way to set these smaller goals is by following what we often promote, which is the SMART approach. So the SMART goal setting framework is one that we recommend in a lot of our sessions if you've been to them before, mostly because it's a great way to clearly outline your tasks in a meaningful and, most importantly, manageable way. So if we break it down, as this example shows, your goals should be specific. So your goals should be clear. They should be simple and defined. So what is it that you want to do exactly? They should also be measurable. And by measurable, make sure your goals have 1 or 2 metrics in place to measure and utilize those analytics that are available to you. This will help you identify when you've reached your goals. There's no point in setting a goal if you don't know when you've even reached it. Then we've got achievable. So identify whether your goals are achievable within your budget, for example, or if in your time frame. A lot of you might be studying and working alongside starting up your business as well. Then realistic. So realistic, are you being realistic with yourself in what you can achieve? And this is whether it's within budgetary restrictions or again, timeframes. There is no real point in putting into your plan that you want to get 1,000 followers a month on Facebook if it's just not realistic to do so. It doesn't help progress your business in any way and can kind of make you feel a bit rubbish as well if you don't achieve it. So make sure that you're being honest with yourself. We reiterate this at every stage of your business. It's about being honest with yourself with what you can achieve in your parameters. And like we've said, there's no right or wrongs. It's what you can manage in your day-to-day. So it's about being realistic with your own personal circumstances. Yes, big corporations and companies probably have tens of hundreds of social media specific people, but remember, you're just you and you can only stretch yourself so far. So just make sure you're realistic in the social media goals you're setting. And then finally, there's timely or time sensitive. So every goal needs a time frame to ensure that you have that momentum that keeps you striving towards it. Again, making you accountable if you set yourself a deadline. With your deadlines, with your time management, again, making sure you're honest when setting these time frames. You know your workload better than anyone else, and you can understand how you can prioritize it best for you. So the basis of the SMART approach is that it helps you to clearly outline your goals by creating this direct actions, which can then be tracked and evidenced by your actual data that you're going to be bringing in. So if we look at an example then of some SMART goals that we might do for social media campaigns. In this instance, I've gone for a local nursery. And these are what they've decided to do to address their broader objectives. Sorry. So specifically, they want to increase their brand awareness on their Facebook account within a 5-mile radius of the nursery. So that is very specific. They've chosen the location where they want to target and how far afield they want to get from their actual physical location. Measurable, the way they're going to measure it is they want to increase their total fans by 10%. They want to increase link clicks on posts about the nursery by 20% and have an average post reach of 1,000 people per post. This is measurable. You can see these stats at the back end of your channel, so you can tell whether you have reached your goal or not. Is it achievable? Yes, quite straightforward. They've decided, yes, this is manageable within whoever is dealing with their social media output. Realistic? It is realistic. They've decided if they boost childcare posts with advertising by £10 per post, targeting an audience of parents within a 5-mile radius, they will see the benefits of that. They might also consider other things like offering maybe a refer a friend deal to spread the word by their valued customers, or possibly advertise annual fun days. They've decided these kind of content is realistic for them to achieve within their goals. And then time sensitive, they've set themselves a deadline of 4 months to meet these goals. And at the end of those 4 months, they would look back at their stats to measure what they've done to see if they've achieved it, and they'll go from there. So deciding on what your goals are is the very first step to your plan. Then we have to identify and assign metrics to our goals so that we can understand if they've been successfully achieved. So key performance indicators, or KPIs, are aspects that are associated with every goal you set yourself. They tell you how well you're doing. So if one of your goals is to increase brand awareness on Facebook, the metrics you would probably pay close attention to are things like fan count, so how many people like your page or follow your page, impressions, that's page and post impressions, your reach in general of your posts, link clicks, how many people are clicking on the links in your content, web referrals as well. So any website analytics for who has visited your website specifically from Facebook, how many people are being driven to your website through your Facebook content. So as we can start to see, our goals and our metrics become interdependent. They rely on each other to produce the success that you are wanting to achieve. The goals you set require you to monitor and understand your data in order to identify if you have accomplished what you set out to do. So what we see developing in this circular economy of sorts is where the goals are set alongside the metrics, which in turn leads the flow of the content then produces the data, and the metrics define the success of the goals according to the available data. And ultimately, they help you to decide whether your content needs to be adjusted or amended to see improvement or not, all whilst keeping these broader objectives in mind as well. So basically, having the ability to monitor your data is absolutely essential in order for you to determine whether you are reaching your goals or not. Like I said earlier, there's no point in setting a goal if you can't tell if you've even reached it. So you need to ask yourself really simple questions like, are my followers increasing? Are more people engaging with my content? Am I seeing more referrals to my website from my social media posts? Ultimately, no matter what the answer is, whether yes, my followers have gone up or no, they haven't, at least you have an answer. This is the importance of data. It provides you with those answers, whether they are favorable to what you would like or not. And once this is established, you can then do something about it if you don't like what you're seeing. So what kind of social media goals could we set ourselves? So all of the platforms do have slightly different ways they operate, how people engage with them, etc. So you would probably set yourself different goals depending on what channel or what platform it is you're using. So in this example, Facebook, the best use of Facebook is the paid advertising aspect of it. It can target a very specific audience based on all sorts of parameters, and it offers the largest overall user base. Posts and other interactions are great, but it really excels in the paid advertising arena, but that's not to say free posts aren't just as useful. When we come to Instagram, as you probably know, is really focused on the visual products. So businesses based around travel and hospitality, clothing, things like that would really benefit with Instagram because they're really visual products. It's showcasing what you offer with breathtaking photos of your next travel destination, things like that. This can really boost your engagement and often convert into leads and sales for you. Twitter is slightly different. This platform is great for business development, as well as being the easiest to utilize as like a customer service portal. because you have this ability to have these really quick back and forth interactions between yourself, your customers, and quite cool between other businesses as well. I don't know if I saw an example ages ago where there was one company said something and then another business said something back, and it was like this real funny back and forth. I can't even remember the companies, which isn't very helpful, but it was interesting, and you can tag people quite easily, and yeah, businesses will get involved if you talk to them. Then we've got LinkedIn. LinkedIn is essential for B2B businesses. The network is used by tons of professionals, as you probably know, and it's all about highlighting your business's influences and growing that professional network. So it is different to just putting a very beautiful picture on Instagram. And then you've got things like Pinterest. Pinterest is another platform that's based primarily on images, although the demographics for its users tend to be slightly older. And they may use the platform more as a type of research tool. I know I do. So boosting web traffic and referrals would be a really good goal to assign to this platform. So you've got people researching, maybe they want to, the last time I used it, I wanted to make a Wizard of Oz backdrop, as we all do. So I Pinterested, searched all of those images, and then the ones that I found were relevant, I then did go to their website to see how they made them or where they sourced the stuff from to make them and things like that. So Pinterest is really good for driving traffic to your website. I think that comes to the end of the setting meaningful goals. So we talked about what SMART goals are and why setting goals are important and how to set them. So Lauren, did you want to talk about the upcoming breakout
this brings
session?
us on to our first breakout session. So this is based on some case studies. Now, obviously, you've probably all got your sort of own business ideas and you're thinking about how you can set your own goals and strategy for your own business. But what we thought we'd like you to do for this session is to have a look at the case studies that we've got here. So we've got two different ones. We've got a case study about a nursery, and then we've got a case study about a jewellery company. You should have all had them emailed over so you can have a look at them, giving you a bit of a description of what they're about and what they're after as a business. And we want you to be able to set some social media goals for these businesses. So you only have to do one of them. I think Alexa's going to pop you into breakout rooms. I think probably 5. Oh, actually, how many have we got here?
Well,
4.
there's 14, so I thought just split people in half, 7 in each.
Oh, I've got 16. Oh, no, that's because it's us, sorry. 14, sorry. Yes. So we'll do 2 groups. I think, well, group 1, whoever you put in that, we've got the Bluebells Day Nursery. And then for group 2, Marine Jewels. As long as somebody in that group has got that there, because I know some of you said you didn't have that sent to you, but as long as you've got a few people in the group that have got that, you're going to have 20 minutes to do it. So we'll work on it together. Come up with those, like Alexa just mentioned, we're looking at these SMART goals. What can you create for these businesses for their social media? So maybe having a look at what platforms might be best for them from going from there. So, oh, can you just show the previous slide? Did you see that? Yeah. So we're just going to put you into those groups now. We'll give you 20 minutes. We are running a little bit behind on our time schedule. So we'll do 20 minutes and then we'll get you back here, and then we'll have a quick sort of 5-minute break. Okay. Hi there. So just coming back now, I just want to check if everyone is back from their break. If you could just all, give us a thumbs up or a wave just to let us know you're all here, and then we'll just get moving on to the next bit. Obviously, some of you I can see. Cool, I've got a few thumbs up there. Lovely, thank you. Okay, so the next section that we're going to discuss is about your audience and your competition. So what we're looking at first of all is basically you're thinking about your business, or in this case we've looked at these case studies, but we want to think who your actual customer is. So it's about defining that customer, identifying your goals and aligning those goals for your business with who you're targeting, basically. So who is that customer? What is that product or service that you've got? I think like you mentioned in your feedback that you just gave us, I think for your case studies, you kind of have already thought about who those customers might be and where they might be looking and where you can actually promote this through which channels, which is really good. So you've already got a bit of an understanding of who that customer is. So with the first one, obviously we were targeting the parents. So even though it's a nursery, we know that customer isn't the child, it is the parent, which is great. And obviously trying to link it with other businesses, which you mentioned. And for the jewelries, we're looking at sort of that younger demographic, which is most likely to be women as well, and people that are interested in sustainability and recycling and that sort of thing. So we've got a bit of an idea here who our customer is, but we just want to define it a little bit more. So thinking realistically who is best suited and how you're going to get traction for this customer. So what are your customers' goals and values, basically? What is it they want from this business? So you're looking at what they currently have as an issue. So we call them things like pain points, and how you can have a pain reliever. So are they currently not getting what they want from their current products or services that they want, because it's, you know, that one nursery maybe is too far away and they don't want to drive there, or it's not got a very good rating, or they don't have as much experience in the outdoor forest school, sort of the nature side of stuff. So you're trying to think, what is that customer wanting, and how can we sort of best suit and give our audience sort of what they want by looking at the challenges they have and the possible objections that they might have to things. So what we look at is, I always like to think about is sort of putting yourselves in the shoes of your customer. So like I said before, the best way you can do things sort of is using that product yourself, using that service, and then you're able to sort of say, well, I know what this does because I know everything about it. I know what issues and problems I have. So what would I do to solve that, basically? So how could you do that, and what effective way could you do that for those customers? We've already kind of touched on which channels you might use, which is really good. So do those people, the audiences, use social media for a start, hopefully, because that's where we're going to target them? And if so, what ones, and what's the best way to look at it? So we did discuss, obviously, we've got sort of your more trending platforms for the sort of the younger audience, possibly like your Instagrams and TikToks and stuff like that. And then you've got your more professional market, or the older sort of target audience, which possibly is a bit of Facebook and LinkedIn, a bit of Twitter, that sort of thing. So we're going to delve into those a little bit more later, but it's really trying to define where that audience might look. So how are you going to identify them? It's just knowing your product or service, like you said, a real understanding of what your business does, what you offer, how you can help that customer. Just trying to understand those needs. Your goals for the business you want to focus on, it does depend on what you've decided as those goals. So like we said, is it getting that new business? You might already have some customers, so how are you going to possibly look at customer retention as well? You want to keep those customers that you've already got. It's not just always about getting those new ones coming in. Thinking about your goal alignment, like you said, about how many you want in that first year, how many new customers you want, but how many, maybe, you know, of the jewelry company you're looking at, you might want to actually increase those sales, not just get new customers, but you want those your current customers to, you know, continually buy from you as well. So it's thinking about that sort of thing, and how many products you might aim to sell in that first year. Where you are sort of reaching, oh sorry, I thought we'd gone on to the next slide. It is the next slide. I thought we'd gone on to it, but it's okay. Anyway, it's just we're looking at reaching them. Looking at sort of your market research area is really key in this instance. So if you're relating this back to your own business, looking at who your ideal client is and getting feedback from them. So you might ask them to sample a product, or look at one of your services, inviting them to come and try out something, just to get that direct feedback from them, focus groups, that sort of thing. Anything where you can sort of directly target them, basically, is what we're looking at, to be able to try and see how those things that you've already got, how they work, how well they're received. And again, we do talk about this a lot, your return on investment. So are the things that you've done so far actually getting you anything in return? Think about sort of what you're offering them as in terms of choice. So do they have a lot of choice from competitors already? Looking around at that competition, I'm going to touch on this in a minute, but you know, is there a huge choice out there for them, and are you offering them something a lot different in your product or service, or, you know, are you giving them enough to satisfy what they need from this new thing that you're giving to them? So what they've currently got, but you're going to take away some other pain points from them and satisfy their needs a lot more than what the competitor will do. And this is basically leads on to the next slide, which is what they want to hear. So it's things like that. It is like, how can you do this for them? What are they going to get better? What are you going to be able to achieve for them? Think about convenience as well. Thinking about the customer. They don't necessarily, you know, they do want a good product, obviously, but you want something that takes away an issue that might make their life easier. Something that is smooth, uncomplicated, the way you use things, especially through social media. You want everything to be an easy user process for them as well. That when it comes to things like apps as well, if you're looking at apps in the future and your websites, making things easy sort of purchasing for stuff like the jewelry, refund policy, all those sorts of things. It's just making that customer journey as satisfying and as easy as possible for them. So just then we're moving on to sort of your competition. So basically knowing who your competitors are and what they're offering does help you make your products and services and your marketing stand out. So basically using this knowledge, it will help you create the strategy to take advantage of your competitors' weaknesses, and it improves your own business performance basically. So who are the competitors to your business? So we're going to move on to this in the breakout session, but you want to look at the competitors, try and establish who these competitors are in your main field. So who is doing maybe the same thing as you? So you've got like your direct competitors, who is doing similar but with different maybe goals and objectives, so like indirect, and then who could possibly replace what you're doing. So you've got like replacement competitors as well. So you've got a few different things here. There's an example that I've got on the next slide. So we've got these direct competitors here. So you've got very well known, you've got McDonald's and Burger King. So they're direct competitors here, because you're looking at McDonald's and Burger King have the same offering. They're both selling burgers and fries, basically, milkshakes, that sort of thing. But they do it by different offerings. So they still have, you know, like one group that they're targeting, but people will still go to different ones because they might have different look of burgers, different tastes. They have, you know, different items on the menu and stuff like that, but they're still direct competitors. Then it brings you on to your indirect competitors. So just to give you an example, that Burger King and Domino's will be indirect, because even though they're selling different things, they are still trying to target that same market of people that are looking for convenience food, takeaway food, that sort of thing. So they're selling pizza and they're selling burgers, but they will still be an indirect competitor. And then again, we've got Domino's and Papa John's, which will be your direct competitors again. So it's just to give you a bit of an example of who you're looking at there. So when you're thinking about who your competition is, it's a lot broader than what we originally think. Then it's just, you know, somebody else that's just selling jewelry as well. So there is quite a broad spectrum of competitors that we're looking at. So the next slide will take us on to what I mentioned about replacement competitors. So these are ones that we've got an example of here. So you've got your everyday normal taxi that you used to call up, or you get it on the street, but then along comes Uber. So they're not exactly the same. They have a similar offering. They're getting you from A to B, but they do offer their service in a different way. So obviously you can sort of book them on the app. They're a lot quicker. You can sort of track them when they're coming, that sort of thing. It's you know, how they do it. They're usually just a everyday run-of-the-mill person. They're not necessarily trained like, you know, a taxi driver would be, like a London cab driver, where they're actually trained in sort of all the areas, things like that. So it's quite different, but it's just a sort of a replacement competitor for the taxi, because it's made a more direct, smoother, easier approach for somebody to be able to book a taxi last minute. It tends to be a lot cheaper sometimes as well. And you'll find that the next one as well is a similar sort of thing. So it's these replacement ones. So you've got Kodak, which probably a lot of you know for the cameras, and they used to have a lot. Back when I was younger, I remember the cameras with the actual film that you had to put in it, and then you'd send your film off and get your pictures developed. You're probably all too young to remember that. But it's that sort of thing. But now you look at Apple and all their iPhones and their iPads and all their software and everything, that not necessarily a competitor because they're not cameras, but the cameras on phones nowadays are a lot better than what they used to be. So you can look at it in that sense. It's like, oh, you do remember it. Oh, good. Yes, somebody else remembers it. Carolina remembers. Good. So yeah, they replacement competitors. So it's sort of looking at possibly who's in that field that you might be able to replace with this, but then looking you're always thinking in the future what else could come along that could replace that. So moving on then to what they're doing right. So whether you're looking at these as direct, indirect, how does their social media look, their marketing, like I mentioned this earlier, can you see popularity in the channels they use, their product, their service, what they are doing right in the market. So you can find out a lot of this information already, we said, by looking at websites, their social media. You can find quite a bit on just their levels of engagement on posts, likes, shares, followers, that sort of thing. And also, like, you can do this as a bit of research, going onto all these platforms and seeing which ones they get the most engagement from. What we've got, so I'd take a look at as well, so the type of content they're posting. Like I mentioned, don't just be putting just any old thing out there, or don't just be pushing on the sales and spamming. Look at also what your competitors are posting. So are they constantly pushing sales, or do they offer advice and tips? Do they have links to different websites? Have they got a theme sort of thing going on? It is quite difficult, to be honest, to start, even though you can find a little bit on just normal social media, it can be hard to tell sort of if anybody's spending money on their advertising that they do through social media. There is a little bit, if you use something like Hootsuite, it does actually, you can search competitors and brand names and sort of find information on how many people might mention your competitor's name through Twitter or Facebook, or who responds to their comments. So then in that way, you might be able to see, okay, they've got engagement actually through this channel instead of this channel. So you can find out a little bit. Obviously, you can delve a bit further into sort of like the analytics on each channel as well if you wanted to find out. It'll give you a bit of an insight into that anyway. And what I would say as well is the best way, I think, of finding out about competitors is to be that customer. I think it's great to use their product or service and sign up to their newsletters and their, whatever they're offering. Then you'll see sort of a bit of their own strategy and what they're doing for marketing, social media, that sort of thing. You'll be seeing how often they post and what incentives they might give you as being a new customer. You can then see, track them. So how many emails are they sending out all the time? Are they offering any discounts to some new customer? What sort of approach have they got? And I think that's always a really good way to find out something. I spoke to a student recently, actually, and they did exactly that. I think they're looking at their competition, but they actually went and sort of worked for one of their competitors just to get a bit of inside information, not to try and, do anything that was sort of below the belt, nothing bad. It was literally just to try and get a little bit of information and also get that work experience. But I think that's a great way to do it, just really looking at a true insight into your competitors. So the next section brings me on to what are they doing differently. So what you're thinking about at the moment, how your business might work. It's already good to see what your competitors are doing and how they've reached their customers, but you don't want to just be doing exactly the same thing as what they're doing. You want to stand out from them. You want to make that offering a little bit different. So think about what you can use and what you've learned from those competitors by either, like we said, becoming a customer or just doing a little bit of research, and expand on the good points that they have. Utilize that. Once you're clear on what your competitors are offering and what they're doing, you have won sort of, not necessarily half the battle, but you've got a bit of the way there because you're already quite clear and understanding on what they're doing. We talk about this time and time again. It's just making sure you're knowing your customers. This applies to all of them. So if you're just starting out and you don't have a customer base, it's finding out who those customers are, but making sure that you're looking after your customers if you do have current ones. So there's lots of different things that we have said about that you can offer to new customers, discounts, early opening to like a new product range that's coming out or something like that, membership points, remembering that when you're looking at competition, we don't want to just ignore those current customers. It's not just all about those new ones. So customer retention is really important as well. Showing like a strength within the business, that you can increase those number of new customers, but you can convert them into sales and repeat customers and things like that as well. When you're looking at your competition, we do talk about this a lot as well. We say these things a lot, but it's hammering home basically the need for your USP. Always think about your unique selling point as well. How do you stand out from those competitors? You really do need to think clearly about this. What makes you different from them? Because it needs to be quite obvious what that is. Because why would I choose this certain jewelry line over another one I've used for the last 10 years and I like their jewelry and it suits me quite well? But you know, we've got USPs coming from this particular jewelry line because of the environmental aspect of it, which, you know, that was a great USP, I think. When you're looking at your competitors as well, just thinking about expanding that offering. So as I mentioned before, we looked at McDonald's and Burger King, but how do you make sure you're staying one step ahead of your competitor as well? So they're constantly expanding offers. Yes, they do burgers, fries, milkshakes and stuff, which is, you know, the staple that everybody knows and loves them for, but they've got to keep it fresh and keep it going and stay ahead of that. So it's things like introducing, you know, the new items on the menu. They have limited editions where they might only have something for a couple of months and then it goes again. And McDonald's have, when they do Monopoly and stuff like that, which is a really fun way to get extra customers, and they sort of giving you free bits on the stickers and you can win prizes and stuff like that. It all keeps them a different offering to that same customer base, but they're just keeping it exciting. And obviously they may potentially then get new customers as well. But it's really important to look at that, staying on top of what your competitor's doing. So it's not just looking at who your competitor is when you first start a business, it's making sure you're constantly just tracking that and seeing what they're doing. Because if you're sort of staying behind on your strategy as this, but then your competitors moved on and ahead of you, and you're still sort of down here, you want to make sure that you're also moving on with those times. So whenever you're looking at any sort of strategy, it's always something that you'll review constantly. You might look at, you know, my strategy is for the next 3 months, but within that 3 months, we want to continually look at the market. What's it doing? What's the competitor doing? And changing that offering. You will obviously always have those key items. I think for any business, there's always sort of those key elements to your business that make it what it is. But then it, you know, where we can change things where we can, then it's going to keep it fresh as well. And this is also looking at your future of your business. Like I said, staying on top of the trends. Things do change, like we know, over this last year. People's personal circumstances might change, financial climate, like we said, that COVID, these things, pandemics obviously, you know, don't happen that often, thank God, in our lifetime, but it has happened. And it's one of these things we've got to think about the future of your business as well. So it's how all these things may affect your business in the future. So it's constantly, like I said, evaluating and reviewing those goals as well. And really, I think you're looking at that growth. So it is with anything we are looking at your business growth, it's about using the tried and tested methods can be great, but if you're not seeing any growth within the business and the competitor is sort of overtaking in that area, and you see a drop off of customers, that's what we're trying to avoid. So it's just about looking at this business as a scalable business and how you might be able to approach that. So I hope that's given you a little bit of an idea about looking at audiences and competitors. We are going to go on to the next breakout session actually already. So what we're going to do again is put you into your breakout rooms. And what we want you to look at here is an MVC is your most valuable customer. So it's just going to be a little grid basically that we want you to look at and just really try and identify this customer. Like we said, you know, who are they? What we've already had a few bits, but the age, the demographic, what time of day they might do things, what are their interests, what sort of activities do these people do? It's giving you basically this persona for your customer. So we want you to have a look at that in a bit more detail. And then also something called a competitor grid. So we've put on the grid 5 competitors. If you can't think of 5 or you can't research 5, that's okay. But try and think about the ones that I mentioned, sort of your direct, indirect, possibly replacement competitors, and looking at what services or products they're currently offering. What's the location of their business? Are they just in the UK, or are they international? Do they deliver worldwide? What sort of pricing have they already got? What do they specialize in? What is their USP? Because we want to know that, because we want our offering to be different. And certifications we've put on there as well. So is there anything that they need to be certified, in? So like your nurseries, making sure, I would have thought that all of your staff are, qualified and have certification in childcare, stuff like that. So if we pop you into your breakout rooms, I think, are we still going with the 30 minutes for this? Yeah, 30 minutes to work on both of these things. So do a little bit of research, discuss in your groups who you think, your customer and your competitors are, and then you can do a bit of research on Google as well. And then we'll see you back here in half an hour.
Make a start. So hopefully people have just had a chance to grab a quick drink, and we'll make a start on the final part of the session. So over to you, Lauren, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, just seeing if anyone that's there with your cameras off, if you give us a thumbs up or let us know that you're there. Lovely, got the cameras on. Okay, so hopefully if everyone is back, lovely, thank you. We're just going to go through sort of the channels that you can use for social media now. So obviously there's lots of different channels, multiple channels that you can use. All of you right now, I'm sure, do use social media. You'll know a lot about them, and you probably use more than one, just for personal reasons, or also, for your business at the moment. If you've already got a business, you're probably using social media already. So obviously we have already said this, depending on what your aims are and your goals and who you want to target, you're looking at different channels to do that through. So having a think about why you would use them. If you think and relate this back to sort of your personal life and why you use these certain things, then you can relate that to your business and why it's best suited to your business. So why you might go on certain ones, what you get out of them. Do you go on sort of certain channels just because you like to watch the videos, you like live streaming, that sort of stuff, or you like seeing, like Pinterest, for example, you might want to get inspiration for something. So there's lots of different reasons why you might use certain social media. As you can see from the slide, there's a lot of different ones here that I'm just going to talk through. You might already know a bit about them, but just to give you a bit of an idea on what you can do on these platforms, really. So if you also, like I said, thinking about the things that might first spring to mind when you do see these all come up. So there might be certain things that you think, oh yeah, I use that one for this, or I use that because I like the usability of it, that sort of thing. So when you're thinking about for your business, we've got sort of Facebook then as the first one that we'll just discuss. And right back at the beginning, we mentioned how, your social media users, like the majority of those are quite a young audience. I think I said between sort of 15 and 25 or something like that. So Facebook has been one of those that obviously has been around a long time, 17 years actually now, I think it is. So it's a long time, and it's grown and developed a lot in that time. And they probably did have a much younger user base to start with. And now I would say, as the changing time, they probably have a bit of an older audience. And there's been newer sort of apps that have come out that have sort of been more directed at a younger audience. But they have kept up with the, the changing needs. They've changed a lot of it. But looking at audiences who you might target through that, you can have an account on Facebook as young as 13. And obviously, there's no limit on how old the users can be. I think actually one of the oldest user is like 100 or something like that. We're in on a bit of research that they've done. So you've got a massive audience there that is sort of waiting sort of there for you to be tapped into. With Facebook, obviously, it's great. I don't know if any of you already use it for business pages. Obviously, you've got your personal and business accounts, so you can set up your own page. Setting up events on those pages and making sure you can target specific people through those events. So obviously you can set your dates, timelines. You can actually make sure you can advertise this in a certain area as well. So you might want to just focus an event just based on sort of like a 10-mile radius, or you might want to make it a lot bigger. So you can sort of create a lot of that with it. They've also given you the option to do your live videos, like we said, and streaming. So you've got those real-time activities, which are really good for sort of boosting what you're doing currently, or if you've got a promotion of a certain product, then you can do that through that channel as well. It is a great place for a lot of business pages. I personally do use it as well, because I think there are other platforms that are great, but this one allows you to just create a lot more. You can have like a proper blurb about your page. You can add a shop to your page, obviously pictures, videos, all sorts of different things you can put on there, links to websites, and it just gives you that quite a bit of notoriety, I think, and like to look like a professional business through that as well, because it is separate to your personal account. So you can make that literally solely just about your business. And with your apps and things as well, you can use it on your phone, and you're able to just directly link to your business page if you don't want to look at your personal as well. So it is a great one for business. Instagram, obviously, another really well-known social media app, and that's been building since 2010. Again, like I said, the terms of the user in this, you're looking at a much younger target audience. So you're looking between the ages of about 18 to 29. So this is where you might decide if your business suits that sort of age demographic. Obviously, it's very quick fire. This sort of thing is, you know, people. It is the pictures that what make it quick fire. Stories, live streams, posts, all that sort of stuff. Facebook obviously has taken a bit of that on now, and they allow you to do stories where they link from Instagram to Facebook. So that's great, because you can cover 2 bases at a time if you want to. I think you do. It works well through advertising through Instagram. I think Alexa said today she actually purchased a pair of shoes off of Instagram advertising just the other day, which it goes to show it does work in that sense. And I have had that before, where you see things come up, you can see that they're sponsored ads and things, but you get a lot of, obviously, like we mentioned before, the influencers through Instagram. So sometimes it might be sort of that, it's just paid false advertising, but you can also follow a lot of celebrities, obviously, through Instagram, and they have verified accounts, so you know that you are following that real person, and seeing their stories and personal life makes it that bit of a nice connection, but then they can also sell things through it. So I think that's what's great about Instagram, is that you can see that real person in real time, so you build that connection with them, and then you build up that trust, and then they can sell products to you, which is what you're aiming for as a business, is to build that trust with your market and your consumers. And if they can see you personally, they're the person behind the brand and this product that you offer, then that's always a great look, really. So obviously, again, with this, you can use your stories and to have your links on it, and you can use your swipe ups and things that will go to the website, so you can buy things as well. So that makes it really easy and user friendly. I've got LinkedIn on here, obviously one of your more professional networks that you might use. This is great for obviously creating personal, but you can also do business pages again. You can obviously explain a lot about your background and your history of employment and study and stuff like that, so people can really see you and see what you've done before. You can obviously also gain your endorsements from other businesses, so to build that reputation, which is really invaluable, that you want that from services. Where people can actually put a real comment about how they've worked with you in the past or something like that, not just reviews about your business, but about you as well, which I think is great. Obviously, it's all about growing networks through LinkedIn, so you can build up your connections with people in similar industries or surrounding industries. So like I mentioned earlier about your direct and indirect with competitors, but it will help you sort of be able to gain those connections that will be important to you. So you might be working on a particular business, like myself and Alexa work, and we have a children's entertainment business. But for us, through professional avenues, we might actually want to partner up with other entertainment industries. So they might be people that DJ, or people that offer sort of other elements of kids' parties, where they might do bouncy castles, or all other avenues that could link to your business. That's what you need to think about. It's not always just, I don't need to use LinkedIn because I don't do B2B work, but you'll always have sort of some other link. So I think it is a great way just to build that network and building your business. You're also kept up to date, obviously, with a lot of emerging stories about technology. You can follow groups, and again, you can follow the big names in the business world as well, which is great. And I would say with this one, obviously, we do look generally at a slightly older audience. So you're probably looking at around 25 to 34. Obviously, it can be older than that, but if you're targeting that sort of age range, that's what we're looking at with that. Etsy is one that we haven't mentioned as yet, but this platform is essentially basically your online shopping page, but it's for the lesser known businesses that might be more into the vintage, handmade crafts, bespoke stuff. So it's got quite a niche market, but it is very popular. And you can create obviously your own pages for selling things, which I know you can do through other channels, but this is great for anything like we've mentioned before about, you know, the handmade jewelry business, for example. It allows you to create your own page and put your pictures on there, what you sell. You can customize it. You can connect directly with your buyers as well, so you can have, you know, conversations with them if they want to ask you something. It does differ slightly from things like eBay, I would say, because they might focus again on sort of a higher priced item, but it is of that quality, whereas eBay, obviously, probably most of us have used it, is sort of either your auction price or buy it now price, but it can be sometimes those lower quality items, whereas Etsy is focusing on those more bespoke handmade products. It also does allow you again to review items that you've bought with the seller. The next one on here is Pinterest. So this again is great for anybody that's looking for inspiration for its users. You can create your own vision boards, you can create your own personal goals. Businesses can really benefit from this because they can show their products and items. So they'll have, you know, you search for, I want to do my kitchen up, and then you've got a whole load of different pictures of kitchens, different themes, all sorts of things like that. And then you could show your business page through that, and they have a variety of different categories, but you can link that again to your website, stuff you might sell. A lot of businesses as well might, again, like I said, not always pushing the selling aspects, but they might do my top 10 like blankets or something like that, and they'll review different blankets and things for home stuff. So it's great that you can do a lot of different things with that. And if it again depends on who you're looking at to target, but with this one you can link a lot to your website if you've got the right people that are following that. I would say again with its users, it does have quite a community feel. It reminds you of being in a shop, essentially, I'd say, where you can go through and go, oh, this is what I'm looking to do. I'd like that, that, and that. And obviously, because you can pin those ideas to your boards, it's a great way to sort of just be able to keep those people there as well. So it keeps reminding you. You can constantly keep going back to that business page because it's there. On this one, you have got, again, a slightly older demographic. The average age of users for this is around about 40. So again, when you're thinking of if you use Pinterest, you've got to look at sort of who your target audience is.
Didn't expect him to do. I guess you're also older as well.
I've got somebody in the background.
I can imagine also in London, just
Eleanor, I think
out of London would be extra challenging. Like
microphone is
very
on.
busy, but actually, before that, the tubes and the trains and stuff were like, especially the tubes were like very good.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some support available.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lauren, I didn't do by accident.
Thank you. All right, it's fine. I think we're good to go now. Okay, and then so anyway, moving on to Snapchat. So again, with this platform, you can personalize it. You can have a business account with this. I think a lot of the time, younger target audiences just use it for sort of like their fun filters and videos and stuff, but you can actually have a business account as well with this. Age ranges with this one is a lot lower. I think you can have an account from about the age of 12, and sort of target audiences are probably from, you know, that age up until like the 25s, that sort of thing. So then you've got to look and be careful at sort of what you might be targeting on something like this, where you have got a lot of a younger demographic on there. You can use your targeted ads, specific filters to find your customers as well. So they have geo filters, which allow you to create your own filter and design, and that can help you grow your shares and posts. So you could create something that is specifically just for your business, which is quite a cool aspect of it as well. So people can find you through these geo filters. It's also an inexpensive way of advertising. Like we've said, for all of this, a lot of this you can do for free. And it's a great platform, I'd say. This one, again, for building ambassadors and influencers through your business. Moving on to the next one, we've got Twitter. So this platform, again, short, relevant posts. Alexa mentioned it earlier, how you can talk backwards and forwards. And again, you can have those conversations with actual real businesses and people that work for them, because again, they have a verified account. So you can, I mean, obviously, not, you know, you can always, you see a lot of engagement from obviously a lot of political side of things on there as well. So like LinkedIn, I'd say keeping up to date with sort of your worldly news and emerging technologies and insight into the economy, which is really good. So this might be helpful for you just to be part of, just to look at how things and trends and financial things are going for in terms of your business. You can also easily promote what you're doing. You can share your news articles, and you can reach a large audience really quickly with something like Twitter. And then you've got YouTube as well. So it's a great platform, obviously, we know, for sharing videos, creating your own channel to boost your business. Essex Startups have a channel, and we record all of these sort of sessions, so if you ever want to watch them. But it's helping promote our business, because we know that if anybody misses anything, they can go to that channel and they can watch any of our videos that we've done. So this is a great way to sort of boost your business as well. You can create sort of great social media presence with this and a brand through this platform, because it's very well known. Obviously, it's been around again for, you know, a long time. I don't actually know how long YouTube's been around, but a long time. And it's something great to reach your customers and the engagement and trust in the product. A lot of people do sort of real life demonstrations through it. So I see a lot of sort of like hair ones, makeup ones, things like that, where people will do these demonstrations through it and build their brand through that. Again, this one, I'd say, because of the length of time it has been around, you'll find you've got a bit of an older audience with this again. You might have them increase, I would say, the usage as the groups get older with stuff like this. From a lot of other platforms, you tend to see after sort of the age of 35, they might start to drop off and not use it as much, whereas the trend of YouTube tends to actually get a lot of an older audience and continue that trend as well, so they don't tend to drop off as easily. So there are obviously a lot of different selling points there with each of the platforms and the channels I've mentioned, which you can use. There are obviously a lot more, but these are the ones that I'd say are quite popular. On to the next slide, it just goes over again just a few things that I've mentioned for all the different platforms that you've got. So if Alexa can just click through them, and then we'll just explain them. So I've mentioned already, you've got Instagram, the swipe ups that you can use. So this is where you can link your website or anything you're selling to that, which makes it easy. We said earlier about hashtags. Using hashtags is great because it helps you be able to locate something, but again, not overdoing it. So you might want to actually search for a specific hashtag on Instagram because you're interested in that. But when you're putting it through your post, just try not to do too much, you know, over hashtagging, so you're not lost sort of there. Turning on your notifications, it seems like a really simple one to say, but just making sure if you've got that business page that you are turning them on and you're notified if a customer has messaged you, or if there's something new going on, or somebody's going live on a video, something like that. Like I said, creating a business page or a group, you can do either. You can have groups obviously just to connect people to you, like, you know, you have like the selling page groups or something like that, but then you get a wide variety of people join. Whereas if you want it specifically just for your business, maybe the pages, sometimes I would say the page is probably better in that sense. Like the next bit, you can use keywords in your tweets to try and find specific things, again similar to sort of the hashtag. Pinning your important posts, so you can pin posts to the top of pages, so that if you've got something relevant that you want to make sure stays at the top and doesn't get lost, you can make sure you're doing that as well. So if you've got sort of a price list of things, sometimes I tend to say, oh, I've got a special promotion on, so I might pin that to the top of the page so that it's there for, you know, however long you want it, and then you can update it as you go. Telling your story with videos, we said, you know, video content is so great, like visual content. That's why Instagram is so popular, and TikTok has now become so popular. So you can find it easier sometimes to tell your story and explain your business and your brand or your journey and the values you have through video, and it's easier. You can, you know, a lot of the time you can just do this on your phone yourself. You don't necessarily need professional equipment to do this. There's so many filters and things you can use to make things look amazing as well. So that's a great way to do it. Snapchat uses an ads manager as well, so you can look at sort of how you can advertise through them. So they'll have specific things that you can actually advertise through them, and you can manage your posts and things as well. Building your professional networks, I've mentioned Twitter, LinkedIn, that sort of thing is really great to build up your business and your reputation and your connections around you, because yes, it's great to have your customers, but to have fellow sort of either startups or other businesses, people in a similar industry to you, it's great to have those professional networks, because you never know when you might be, you know, needing somebody that, you know, I really need somebody for this and this, and the more people you know, the more connections you've got, the better, I always think. Using your recommendations and reviews sections on, I think pretty much all of them will have things like this, where you can ask somebody to recommend you or rate you, give you reviews and starred ratings and things like that if they've used your product or your service. And that's a great way, again, to build reputation and to sort of to give people, you know, that recommendation, like Alexa mentioned earlier, it's like a word of mouth, but we're just seeing it online instead. So it's basically, you know, saying, I've used this service, I think it's great, but I want to tell everybody about it. So you making sure you get full use of that. And then I think there was one more which you put, which is the live video, I think. Yeah, live videos. Live videos as well. As I mentioned, real time, seeing you as a person, not just a product or a brand, that sort of thing. Seeing you in a real-time video really resonates with your customer base as well. So trying to use this as much as you can, I think, is a great way. And like I said, visuals, again, are fantastic. So that just brings me on to the last bit of this section, which is your call to action. So basically what we're looking at here is, once you've established what your best platform is, for obviously you're essentially marketing your business through your social media strategy. So you want to think about the next steps. What do you want to achieve from the strategy? What do you want your audience to focus on from this? And so you've obviously looked at the goals of the business. You've just looked at the customers, competitors. So we want to action this basically into your social media strategy. So depending on what platform or platforms, if you've chosen more than one, yeah, obviously you have a variety of different action points. So your call to actions could be, do you want to have something on there that tells them to shop now? Like, can I click on this and say, I'm going to shop now? Do you want a section that says sign up so that you can become a member, like we mentioned earlier, and get exclusive member discounts? Do you want them to discover something and then they click on a page that takes them to another page, or watch a video? So thinking about, again, what your aims are will help you realize what sort of the action points you'd like to happen on your page. So these can be obviously customized. This is all to do with a bit of branding, but different colors, enticing users to click onto the next pages and things like that. Call to actions, again, as well, you can also look at hidden sort of slogans within the brand. So I've got a couple of examples of things like Nike, and their sort of tagline, if you like, is just do it, and we probably all know that. And that's essentially like a hidden call to action, if you like. So they're saying they're inviting their customers to take action upon themselves and challenge themselves. So they're basically telling you every time, just do it, just do this, and it's sort of empowering. And I think that's a good message to send. Something like Tesco, their tagline is every little helps. And again, they're encouraging that shopper to use them to help save money for them. No matter how sort of small the products are, it makes a big difference if you shop with them, is what they're saying. So you could also think about, when you're creating this, how you might incorporate your call to action within that brand and slogan, because having that sort of, not necessarily hidden so much, but the sort of slogan and the branding means something, and it's prompting your customers. So you want them to remember that call to action, to be it sort of either the link to buy a product, a button to read more about research, watch a video, like I said, or watch the production of an item, possibly, so they can see how something was made. You just want a good finish to the post of the content. So basically, you want to be able to put this in place, and they are actually, you are getting the action that you want from them, is what I'm saying. So you want a nice finished streamlined post that you're getting your customer to go through each step, and they're getting those actions that you actually set out for. And I think as well, if you don't ask, you don't get sometimes. So if you don't put that button there and you don't give them the click this or sign up, then it's not going to happen. So prompting those customers all the time is great. You can also think of call to action points for your business as itself. So you can break down these actions into something that we like to use, like a 90-day plan. So looking at the stages and the actions you need to take in the next 90 days to meet those goals. So we kind of obviously discussed that earlier. What are your meaningful goals and when are you going to do this? You can also do like 30-day cycles. It doesn't have to be as long as that. So say you could set up a social media page, and example, 50 followers. We want to have 5 sales in the next 30 days. We want to increase those sales to 7 sales and create an event to launch our next product line or something like that. So it is sort of that thing again, thinking about how you're going to action those points that include the business but tie into that social media strategy. There is a really good website as well, which I was discussing the last few days, called getapp.com. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, for looking at your business management software. So that's really good for helping you with things like your strategy. So you can look at all the top rated software for like CRM systems, if you need that in place, email management, scheduling software, billing and invoicing, all that sort of stuff, which will help you with that social media strategy as well. When you're first starting out, you might not need this sort of thing in place, but I would say the scheduling software especially is a great one if you're using more than one platform and the channel, because you'll be able to just schedule that in advance when you want your posts to go out on each one, and you don't have to stress about, okay, I haven't put a post out yet, I haven't done this yet. Yeah, and we mentioned earlier about what times you might be posting, because it's when it's relevant to your customer base. So again, you could sort of do that in advance with your scheduling software. And that's the website I mentioned, getapp.com, and that will just give you a review on all of the best sort of business software management systems you can use. It also gives you a chance to look at, say, what competitors are using. So I think you can, on some of it, get a bit of information about what other people might be using or what works best for them as well. So yeah, this is mainly what I wanted to discuss with you about the different channels that you could possibly use. Again, like I said, there is other ones out there, but these are great ones for targeting people through your business networks, for your social media strategy for your business. So it's going to finish here and pass on to Alexa, who's then going to look at optimizing your social presence next.
Yes, thank you. Okay, where are we? Okay, so yeah, now thank you for that, Laura. Now we've looked at some channels. We'll look at optimizing your social media presence a bit more to make it work better for you. And to start with, to understand fully how your social media might already be working for you and where you might need to adjust it, it's a really good idea to complete like a full audit of the channels that you're using, the type of content you're posting, and how that might already be resonating with your audience. So first of all, what is a social media audit? An audit can often sound daunting, but in this instance, it's really simple, and it just means compiling key information about each of your social media accounts all in one place. It will give you that snapshot of what it is you're doing and on what platforms, giving you a clear picture of your current social media efforts, which in turn will help you to pinpoint the best way to improve your results. And when you're finished, you'll have a single strategy document for all of your social media channels that highlights things like key details, that's quick and easy to refer to by you and, for example, any other members of your team, if you have other members of your team. So how would you perform a social media audit? You can start with a summary document with an example like this of all your channels, and then you can break them down into your individual channels and create a document for each one, which shows more detail if you'd like. So we'll start with listing down all the accounts we have across the various platforms. It may be useful to also set up some form of monitoring for your brand or company name in case any other accounts pop up with the same name, either as an imposter, it happens sometimes, or just somebody else using the same name as you, as you'll want to ensure that this is dealt with as quickly as possible, because you don't want your customers going to their page instead of yours. This initial identification of channels also helps you see where you don't have a social presence, and then you can start thinking about whether you should add them to your social media strategy or not. So what is it that you're using and what are you not using right now? Why are you not using a certain channel? Is there a reason behind that, or just that you didn't even think about that channel? Even if you may not think that you need this channel right now to meet your objectives, there's no harm in like keeping notes on it, on how the platform is used and how you could possibly utilize it and its features in the future as your business grows. So you might have a Facebook and think, I don't need YouTube, but later down the line, you might start to film more content and then branch out into a YouTube channel as well. So you can set up an account now to ensure that you have the name that you want. So you've grabbed that name and think about populating it at a later date. Then once you've recorded all of your accounts, take the time to look at each one thoroughly to make sure it's consistent with your current brand image and the standards that you've set yourself. You can create a document that fits your needs, but this example highlights areas to record, such as particular hashtags that you use for your brand and your business, whether there's a link in the profile to your website, the particular focus of the type of content on that specific channel, how your posts have performed previously and whether they're meeting the KPIs that you've set yourself. All of this information will help you to understand if your social content is meeting your brand guidelines and fundamentally representing your business values correctly and effectively. Like with every other part of your business strategy and marketing strategy, you're linking it back to those overall business objectives and values. It all feeds into one big picture. So once you have the basic information down, you need to look further into the details of each individual component. And you should really focus on the following for each of your social media accounts. So images, these can be profile or cover pictures, as well as images for use for like posts and events as well. And what you want to do is to make sure that your images reflect your current branding and adhere to the social network's image size requirements, which is a technical aspect, but still really important. So you may scroll through and see that, yes, they are all nicely in brand. Then you come across one that doesn't fit, and those are what you're looking out for. You want your imagery to be consistent with your brand, but also with each other. You'll know what looks right for your business, so just make sure that you stick with that. Then when it comes to text, pay close attention to what you say in your profile and your bio text. Obviously, with the example here of Facebook, you've got quite a lot of information that you can put in there. But you still have limited space to get across what it is that you want to say. So it's important to make the most of it where you can. Check that all the fields are filled in completely and accurately and up to date with your current brand messaging in your business's tone of voice. Again, important to keep reiterating that same tone of voice throughout everything that you do. You don't need to speak like your competitors. You need to speak like you. That's really important. Your competitors can talk however they want. However you've decided to talk, stick to that. And then make sure all the details in the section are current and monitored, again, to ensure that they stay that way, because things change. And when you make changes to your about sections or bios as well. Then we've got handles. So again, check to make sure you're using the same handle across all social media channels if you can. It's a good idea to keep that consistency again, if you're able to. Of course, you might need different handles if your accounts serve different purposes, but at the start, it should all be one aligned effort, really. So take a look at your handles and record in the notes if you want to make changes for consistency across the platforms. That way, if people type in your name or handle into Google, it should bring up all the social accounts linked to that name, making it easier for people to find you wherever your presence may be. So for example, when I type Essex Startups into Google, it brings up our University of Essex webpage, it brings up our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and if you scroll down, you probably get our YouTube page as well. So We've tried to keep our handles consistent where we can. Again, if somebody's already taken your name, mix it up slightly. I think with Facebook, we're Essex Startups, and then with Instagram, it is Essex Startups, but then with YouTube, it's like Startups. Yeah, so they might vary slightly, but just do the best you can to make them all consistent. Then we've got links. So links are important in your social media content, not only to help your users to easily navigate to your separate areas of information, but also to boost your SEO in general. All of these things for all of your digital stuff, your online presence, all links in to help your SEO for your website further down the line. So linking to and from particularly trusted platforms helps boost your Google ratings. It also ensures a valuable and stress-free customer experience when interacting with your business online as well. So key links you want to include on your channels, and this can be in your about section, your bio, your posts, your events. They're a link to your website homepage for a start, links to any blog posts that you might create, or a specific landing page that's relevant to a current campaign you might be running. So you don't have to link to the same page for all your social accounts, but it's important to have a record of what is linked from where, so you know what's going on. So in your about section or your bio, you would link to your homepage and probably to your other social media accounts as well. And then try to include these links, or as Lauren said, these calls to action in your posts, which again, just encourage that traffic back to your website or whatever it is that you may be highlighting. So for example, you may be showcasing a specific product that you sell, link to the page that has that particular product on, rather than just the homepage if it's more relevant to do so. Then, as Lauren touched on earlier, there are pin posts. These are usually really useful to prioritize your current news, your campaign or information. Like Lauren said with them, maybe if you change prices or you've got a new deal that you want to offer, pin that to the top of your page and keep an eye on that and update it when necessary just to stay current. And use this to bring to the forefront what you want people to immediately see. So you may be running a competition, you may have an event coming up, pin that post at the top, gets all eyes on it straight away. So next, you're going to audit your individual posts and to help you identify the best content you're putting out. So for each of your accounts, record which maybe 3 posts had the most engagement, or determine the success based on any metric that you have decided to set yourself. Include links to these top performing posts in your social media audit template. You can then find key metrics for your social posts using the built-in analytics tool for each social network. This is Facebook, for example. It shows how you can view your posts on Facebook under the Insights tab. And it clearly lays out the most recent posts with easy to digest stats based on reach and engagement. You can flick about and have post clicks, reactions, etc. And once you have them all together, start going through them to look for any sort of patterns. Do your response rates increase when you post photos, for example, or videos? Are the same kind of posts getting similar engagement across all of the different platforms that you might be using? Are some types of posts performing better on one platform and not really performing particularly well on another platform? So it's all about testing your ideas and noting down these results as you go. Again, it's data driven and it will help you to gradually refine your output and your overall strategy in general. It's also important to understand how each channel displays your content. So you may use the same image a couple of times on Facebook because you can get away with it, as the newsfeed like quickly gets through quite a lot of information and content. Whereas your Instagram grid, people might have already told you to look at your Instagram grid, will remain the same. Yes, your content still pops up in people's news feeds, but if they go to your profile, you see that grid and it's just really obvious if you've used the same image 3 times in a row and you want to avoid that where possible. Even if you're re-highlighting the same event, just try to mix up that imagery for any reminders, just to ensure that the content is fresh and it draws new people in. So having looked at your individual posts, now you can look at the bigger picture and assess each channel and its performance in general. Again, this example is from Facebook. Hopefully, you would have already created your mission statement for your business and a few key goals for each social media account. But if you haven't, use this opportunity to do it now. You simply can't, as I've said before, you simply can't evaluate your performance effectively if you don't know what kind of performance you're trying to achieve. So many businesses will look at areas such as website traffic and conversions and how well they are doing in these areas. And at the end of the day, engagement on your social media channels is nice, but you want to see real return on investment through leads and customer generation. Don't forget that one snapshot is not all that it takes. Ideally, you want to compare your stats month on month or even year on year as time goes by. And then you can start to spot things like maybe seasonal variations in engagement. And then you can plan ahead for them. That's the whole point, is keeping track of what is going on so you can plan for any ups and downs that you might come across in the future. ROI, as Lauren said, we talk quite a lot about ROI, return on investment, because it's so important. Understanding your ROI is essential for all social media output that you create, whether it's paid or not. So if you're running a specific campaign on any social network, you need to take the time to calculate your return on investment for each period as part of your social media audit. Essentially, this is a measure of how much you spent on social media versus how much value your social efforts contributed to your company. But as we just said, it's not all about the money and whether you paid for it or not. It also helps you to gauge whether the effort and the time you have put into these posts was useful or not. Again, aligning this information with the goals you've set. It's not all about money. As we've discussed before, you could be studying, you could be working full time and starting a business. It's about time, your time as well. So a key point to note is to make sure that your audit process isn't a one-off task. The best way to learn from your data and to continue to keep up is to continuously monitor your performance and adapt where necessary to meet your goals. Regular audits can ensure that everything you're doing is kept on track, and it helps you to identify any changes in the way your accounts are performing. So you audit what you're doing, you learn from what you've seen, you adapt your techniques, and you just repeat. It's a similar circular motion that just keeps your content fresh, keeps you up to date with what your customers want, and hopefully keeps you at the top of their news feeds and the top of their minds when they come to buying products and services that you supply. So ultimately, to optimize your social media presence, you need to ensure you are following some really simple guidelines, such as creating and maintaining a strong identity that aligns with your brand values. You want to learn from others. What are they doing? And learn how they draw people in as well. You want to make a great first impression, as we all do, and that relies on up-to-date content and your business details being current and accurate. You need to adjust your tone and messaging depending on the type of channel, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. As Lauren mentioned earlier, personality, bring your business to life, inject some personality into those content. It's not just about the hard sell. It's not just about your product. It's about the person behind the product. If you've been to any of our other workshops, we often talk about this video, start with why. It's not always about what you do. It's about why you do it. And people will often buy into that over other things. Like I've given examples before. Lauren showed an example of ELF. They're a particular makeup brand. Yeah, there's tons of makeup brands and face cream brands. I like them because of who they are, not just what they produce. Yes, they're good quality. Yes, they're affordable, but they're vegan and they are cruelty free and they're eco-friendly and things like that. So that matters more to me just than the fact that they produce makeup and face cream. And then keep it professional. Remain professional as much as possible, and this helps you manage your reputation. It doesn't It doesn't mean that you can't be fun or light-hearted, but just remain professional. Don't start using slang terms, maybe. Don't upset people if at all possible, obviously. So yeah, just remaining professional, even if you have a more relaxed tone of voice. Keep it fresh, as we've said, keep that content flowing. You want to excite customers that are already following you, as well as draw in new ones. And again, avoid the hard sell. Social media isn't all about selling. It's about building your reputation, building your brand, your trust, your identity. It's not just about look at this product, buy, buy, buy. People can switch off quite quickly with things like that. So there's just a few tips to optimizing your social presence. What we're going to look at now is the big question people often ask themselves is, do I pay for advertising or not? So having looked at these ways to optimize your presence on social media, we touched slightly on paid advertising, but the question for all of us is, yeah, should we pay or shouldn't we? What are the benefits of doing so? Will it help me get leads and sales? Recent research is beginning to show that organic reach on social networks, sadly, is declining, which would suggest that paid social media advertising should be on the top of our list of marketing expenditure. Our hand is being forced slightly there, but what can you do? Many businesses, large and small, are starting to adapt their social media strategies to include paid advertising across social media now, as it becomes a real fight for attention amongst people's news feeds. So this chart here highlights how marketers are currently investing in various areas of social media paid advertising, with, as you can see, Facebook leading the charge, quickly followed by Instagram, who have been consumed by Facebook anyway. It's no surprise there. And social media is, of course, a great way to reach your audience, with more than 2 billion people using at least one platform every day across the globe. And the average person spends roughly 135 minutes per day on social networks. So we can see the number of small businesses advertising on Facebook, for example, has doubled now to 50 million in recent months. You could argue that brands don't advertise on social media. Thank you. You could argue that brands that don't advertise on social media risk falling behind now, as the world leans heavily on social media in all its forms, and its usage, we can all admit, is only going to increase, particularly in the last year or so, as we've all been stuck at home. What do we go to? We go to our phones, we go to our laptops, and we go to social media and online content. So it's no surprise that, according to a survey in 2018, 92% of small businesses have increased their investment in social media advertising. It's important to understand that paid social media advertising is very different from traditional advertising. There's things like big data that comes into play and machine learning, allowing you to find, target, and reach your audience with much more ease than traditional forms of marketing allowed. Each platform can offer different services, all designed to facilitate the goals of your business. So, for example, raising brand awareness, boosting lead generation, increasing website traffic, and more, like we said earlier. And many forms of insights and analytics can even guide you in how to enhance the performance of your advertising campaign. So whether your aim is to increase reach, engagement, or sales, the case for advertising on social media has never been stronger. So we're going to look at just a few of the benefits of using paid social media advertising or your own startup. So first of all, the pros: amplifying your reach. Paid advertising on social media gives your brand instant visibility. There's no denying that. Posts from friends and family are now being made a priority, particularly for Facebook, which is great for us, not so great for businesses. So organic reach for brands is on the decline, as they might fight to be seen amongst the crowd. The sheer volume of posts that we see on a day-to-day basis makes connecting with your audience much less likely as time goes on, sadly, and more people are entering the market day to day, week to week. So paid ads are more of a guaranteed place in the user's feed, giving you direct access to the individual to drive those leads and that website traffic and those sales. And to achieve the greatest reach for your money, you need to know where your audience spends their time online, as different platforms tend to appeal to different age groups. So again, you need to align your strategy with the behavior patterns of your audience, as we spoke about slightly earlier. Another pro is it can fit into any budget. So again, startups might find that Their budget is quite limited, particularly if it comes to social media advertising. But it can be quite a cost-effective way to promote your business to a large scale but very refined audience. So you can create your audience to your own specifics, meaning that you're using your budget more effectively to reach the people that actually want your product or service. Sorry. After you've completed a few campaigns, you'll start to see, again, these patterns of behavior. And then you can adjust your content or your audience settings accordingly to get the best ROI out of it. So as opposed to more traditional forms of advertising, social media advertising is much more flexible and allows you to make amends accordingly. As we've said before, once that magazine advert is out there, it's out there. You can't change it, it's out there, it looks the same every time somebody sees it. You can't get instant feedback on it, and you can't adjust it even if it says this imagery is rubbish. So each platform uses the pay-per-click or PPC payment model, meaning that you pay only if the user takes the action that you want them to take. So once you can understand how your money is being spent, you can make a more informed decision on how best to invest it in the future. Enhancing your targeting. So as we said, social media advertising can be refined to meet your needs in quite a bit of detail, giving you complete control over who sees your ad. There are a huge amount of targeting parameters offered by each platform, including basic user demographics like location and age, as well as additional factors such as interests, hobbies, personality types, and much, much more. For example, with Facebook in particular, you can select, I know I've done campaigns for a nursery, and you can select whether someone's is a parent, and then you can select by what age bracket their child is. So you can really break down who it is you're targeting by quite specific parameters if they offer that. And with Facebook again, for example, it also lets you retarget social users who've already visited your website, for example. So if you use their Facebook offer these things called pixels, which is a form of tracking. They do a retargeting pixel. And this can be useful if you want to offer a special deal to people that have recently visited your website. So you can see who's visited your website, and this will then pop up on your social media, offering them their own specific deal. Then boosting brand awareness. Social media advertising also helps you to appear in people's news feeds more regularly, which means people have an increased chance to see your business and begin to remember you, hopefully. The more people that see your ad and recognize your brand, the more credibility your business gains. And this can in turn drive that engagement and hopefully purchasing behavior. And as your ad will appear more frequently, make sure it's clear, concise, and eye-catching. It still has to stand out in these flooded news feeds, because as organic reach declines, more and more people will be paying for advertising. So again, there's still that battle to face. But the good news is around 80% of Instagram users, for example, follow at least one brand. And of these, at least 30% have purchased a product they discovered on Instagram. So when creating your ads, make sure they're both informative and memorable. I've always thought of myself as someone that isn't particularly not adverse, the opposite of adverse, isn't particularly interested in advertising, like sponsored ads. But as Lauren said, I literally saw these shoes pop up on Instagram the other day. I was like, wow, they're amazing. And I bought them. So there will always be people like me, and worse, that will definitely buy stuff whenever they see it advertised. Then you have access to mobile users anytime. With the huge drive in mobile technology over the last 5 to 10 years. This just was never a thing when I was a kid. You had a computer at home, just one, that you fought for access on. So you would never really get these customers back then that you do now. But now pretty much everyone has that technology in the palm of their hand quite a lot of the time, let's face it. So you have this instant access. And according to Pew Research, 80% of time spent on social media is conducted on a mobile device these days, meaning the penetration of social media advertising is literally unparalleled. The most effective ads look and feel like the original platform as well. So often using minimal text with a strong image to instantly communicate what's going on or what is for sale for quick scrolling users. And then finally, gathering market insights. You can gather information on how your audience interacts with your ads. You can pinpoint which ad type was most popular. You can see, were videos better than pictures? Were pictures better than just text? Who liked them? Like we said before, use this data to gather the data that you gather to inform your future ads, adapt them where necessary. Each platform offers its own insights or analytical tools to help you better understand how your content is resonating with your audience. So look at things such as clicks, comments, profile visits, to determine if your ads are creating an impact or not, and adjust and amend as necessary. That is the beauty of online and social media advertising, is once you've realized something's not working, quickly change it, see if it works. So that being said, it's also essential to consider any negative aspects of paid advertising to ensure that you understand fully that it's the right choice for you and your business to make. So there are cons to a lot of things. The first and the biggest and the most frustrating is changing algorithms. Many of the platforms are, it feels, constantly changing their algorithms for what you see appear in your newsfeed. And this in turn is having a detrimental effect, as we said, on organic posts and how frequently, if at all, your followers see your content. I'm sure it's something like 2% of your followers will actually see your content if you don't pay for advertising. So this leaves you with one alternative, and that is to pay to get your content seen. The more you pay, the more you get seen. And with the lack of that supporting organic content, you may then be convinced to spend more and more just to be seen by your potential customers. So again, it's a rabbit hole that you could fall into. So understanding how your ads are working and whether the money you're using is paying off is what should drive you in your future campaigns. Then it's time intensive. With the diminished circulation of organic posts, even more attention needs to be given to paid ads, and constant monitoring and adapting needs to take place to remain fresh in the eyes of potential customers. Ad fatigue is real, and if the same content keeps popping up, people will just ignore it at best, hide it, or unfollow you at worst. So these are the things you need to weigh up. It's really important for you to ensure that the imagery and the text that you're using is mixed up as often as possible to give the illusion of brand new content, even if it's not. So without being able to dedicate time to this, paid ads may not benefit you as much as they could do. And a lot, particularly Facebook, will offer you like a block of ads so you can kind of test which one is working best. Excuse me. So what else? Demands a lot of creativity, which is fine. We're all business startup people here. We're obviously all very creative. Whilst just some interesting and detailed copy is enough to fulfill something like a Google ad, if you've already done those, Facebook ads, for example, require much more creativity, and they rely heavily on imagery as well as copy. And for Instagram, even more emphasis is obviously placed on the image, with the copy playing a really small part in the overall ad. So again, it's a different way of thinking when you're advertising. And again, this adds time, adds to your time consumption, as getting the images right are just as important as getting the messages right. It's the first thing people will notice as they scroll through their feeds, so it needs to be representative of what it is you're trying to say. But on the other hand, there's platforms like LinkedIn, which again demand different ways of building ads, with much less help, sadly, offered at the moment to members. Unlike Facebook, for example, where you can get Facebook blueprints, they give you a lot of information on how to compile your ads and make them work for you. Then there are audience limitations. So the majority of the global population may be on social media, but they may not be on all social media. And it's important to choose really carefully based on your research on which platform to invest your money into. 90% of Instagram users, for example, as Lauren said, are 35 and under. I feel totally victimized by these age ranges and under. So if your target market is older than this, pouring money into these ads would possibly be futile. And it's important to really research your audience and find out what channels and what platforms they use to ensure, again, that you're using your budget in the best possible way and not just spending where you think the most users are. It's not about the platform with the most users. It's about the platform which has the most of your audience. And this all comes back to your research, initial business research that you would have done at the first stages of your startup. It's also fast paced. Not only is creating, refining and monitoring your ad quite time consuming, it's also being thrown into such a fast paced world that even when you have dedicated a lot of time to keeping it fresh and new, the time it could appear in front of someone's eyes is generally fleeting, particularly with sites like Twitter, where tweets are being updated minute by minute and more content is just flooding the feed. So it's easy to go unnoticed in this fast moving arena. So again, something else to consider when deciding where to invest your advertising budget. And then finally, there's audience perception. So you can create the sharpest looking ad with the best imagery, the most catchy messaging, but that will never stop some users seeing all advertising as just spam. And there's not really much we can do about it. It's just a consideration for you to have. There's no easy way to get around it. Sadly, it's an undeniable truth, the same as changing algorithms, but it's something to be aware of. All of these pieces of information equip you to make the best decision possible for you and your startup. There's a really good quote. My mum says it all the time. I can't remember it, but it's about understanding what can be changed, being okay with stuff that can't be changed, and understanding the difference. You get the gist. Right. So that was a bit on paid advertising, whether to do it or not. As we can see, there's no ultimate answer. It's all dependent on you and your business and what you think fits best for you. So we'll move on to inspiration and endurance. I don't know what time it is, time check 4:30. So now I've delved into what social media strategy is, how we can use social media to boost our business identity, our trust and awareness, and optimizing our presence online. We'll look at where we can gather inspiration from to keep that content flowing nicely. It's important to remember, social media is no quick fix, and it can take just as much effort as other forms of advertising and marketing. So you need to be able to dedicate time to get it right. As we've seen with setting SMART goals, it's essential to know what you're aiming for in the long term and in the short term, and how these goals relate to your overall business objectives and how you expect to reach these goals. Your content also needs to drive calls to action, things you want customers to do when they see your content. So planning and scheduling your content in advance is really beneficial, as it saves you time and effort each day if you can line up a whole batch of content to go out in one go. Finding inspiration. Obviously, you want your business and its brand to stand out amongst your competitors, but that doesn't mean you can't take inspiration from what they are also doing on social media. It's a really valuable way to keep, to keep an eye on what others are doing, just so you have an idea of the entire landscape surrounding your products or services in this particular area. So what is it your competitors are talking about at the moment? What's the latest trend that they might be referencing? But most importantly, are these things right for you to talk about and your business? Blindly copying others will never get you anywhere. And you can certainly not stand out just by copying someone like for like. But having an understanding of what they're doing can influence how you possibly approach your content. There are other things you can check out. There's things like the winners of the Facebook Awards. There's the Shorty Awards, for example. And these are brands that are right at the top of their social media game, to see what it is they're talking about, see how they create their content, how they talk to their audiences. And then you can look at things like Hootsuite's bi-weekly awards. It's called Fridgeworthy. And this shows brands that are doing fun and engaging things on social media. Again, like we've said, have a look, see what all these people are doing, see why they win Facebook awards, see why they win Shorty awards. If it's not right for you, don't do it. But if you see something you like, it will inspire you to create content that fits in with your business values, whilst also having some of those appealing aspects from others. So, as we've said, you could start to take inspiration from your favorite brands. Maybe Ford do great adverts and you're like, I love those adverts and they fit really well with my business. I'm going to do something like that. So they may not sell the same product or service as you, but you can get an idea of what it is that you like about what they post and infuse that into your own content where applicable. So what is it in particular that you like about it? Why do you like it? Will it fit in with your own brand and will it resonate with your customers? As ever, your customer-based research, like we keep talking about research, but it's because it's so important. It will play a huge role in how you decide on your content, as you don't want to put people off by pitching the wrong type of thing to your customers. If they're expecting professional and quite proper, and you come in with like base level jokes, for example, you might really put off some potential customers. So having in the back of your mind what they are expecting is essential to your success. Take a look at brands that are big in the social media game. So for example, National Geographic on Instagram, they have outstanding content on Instagram. They combine these stunning visuals with really compelling captions. As we've said before, Instagram is a really visual place, but they just do it really well. Then there's things like Shopify, who take a slightly different approach. When they're using Facebook, they sell themselves by showcasing their own customer stories and case studies. So that's how they approach their audience. And then you've got brands like Glossier. It's a great example of using your channel to improve their customer service. This is on Twitter in particular, and they use their account to answer questions and solve problems as quickly as possible. Again, understanding what you want to get out of social media helps you to define what you put in or out on social media. Are you all about imagery? Are you focusing more particularly on customer service at the moment? Or do you want to promote real life stories of people using your products and people interacting with your business? All of the channels can be used in a slightly different way for a slightly different purpose. After all of these things we've discussed, what is clear with all these different approaches is that their voice, tone, and style remains consistent. And that is a really important element to remember. It's what lets people know what to expect from your feed and ultimately your business. So consistency helps keep your content on brand and in line with your business values, which is super important. And just remember that the analytics and the stats you draw from your content is essential to help you driving forward in the right way. So down to some technical aspects. The ultimate goal here with so I like to create a social media content calendar. And the ultimate goal here is to share great and engaging, interesting and useful content to drive action from your customers. So it's absolutely essential to have some sort of plan in place, and getting that planning down on paper or a spreadsheet or an online Trello board will help get it out of your head so you can concentrate on the finer details. We talk about this in the overall marketing strategy, and it's very similar for social media strategy. Having a social content calendar will help you keep on track with what it is you're posting and when, to gain maximum impact. So not only can you schedule your posts, but also when you will talk about things like events, or when you might dedicate time to answer customer questions or reviewing your reviews, which is also quite important. So planning out your time in any other way seems like a given. So when we've got a deadline for an essay or something, it's quite obvious that we plan out our time leading up to the deadline. I'll work on this bit, finalize here. But people are really quick to forget that when it comes to social media. although this is something that also requires some really dedicated use of your time. I think it's easy to assume, because it's social media, oh, it's like, that's okay, I can just knock out some posts in 5 minutes. But like we've said before, it's still a really important element of your marketing strategy. So it still needs that dedicated time and focus. So to plan it out in advance will be beneficial in terms of keeping you focused, but also allowing you time in between thoughts to be creative and research what else to talk about. You can use your social media calendar to pinpoint the dates and times at which you'll publish types of content on each channel. It's really the ideal way to plan all aspects of your social media activities, including images, videos, blog posts, link sharing, things like that. You can include your day-to-day posting and content for like really large campaigns as well. And with planning and scheduling in advance like this, you can also ensure that your posts are spaced out appropriately and published at the optimal times, as it gives you a visual overview of what you're putting out. So it can help you determine the right content mix. Basically, I like everything that gives you one big picture so you can see everything that's going on at once. Excuse me. So when compiling your calendar, make sure you remember to focus on the specific overarching goals of each platform you are using. So you may break your time and content up as follows. So in this example, I might do 50% of my content is going to be used to drive traffic to my website. Then 25% of my content I've decided will be derived from other sources. So I'm going to look around, see what my customers are doing, see what my competitors are doing, what the industry is doing in general, and get some content from there. Then 20% will support lead generation specifically. So it will be newsletter signups, ebook downloads, free trials of products, things like that. And then 5% of my content will be about my company culture and the people behind the brand. And from this list, we can see that emphasis is on getting a mixture of content, which is right for you and your business, not just 100% I'm driving website traffic and that's it. Keeping these things mixed up just keeps your feed mixed up and keeps your look fresh and interesting. And it's like, oh, they're not just going on again about boosting website traffic, but they're talking about, oh, look, the person that designs their content, or, oh, they've got a new mailing list I can sign up to. So things like that. When you're first starting out, though, as a small business, you may be unsure about what type of content that you want to post. So if you're stumbling at the start, which is absolutely fine, we all have blocks and we're all like, I'm not really sure what I should be talking about. You can often utilize certain rules that come along with social media. So the ones that I'm most aware of are the, oh, that's the wrong page, is the 80-20 rule. So this is where I'd say 80% of my posts I'm going to use to inform, educate, or entertain my audience, while another 20% will be to directly promote my brand. So a bit more of a hard sell in that 20%. But you can also try the other social media rule of thirds. So 1/3 of my content is going to promote my business in order to convert my users and to generate profit. Then 1/3 of my content is going to be sharing ideas, stories from leaders in your industry or other like-minded businesses, just to give that overall insight into your business in general. And then 1/3 of my content is personal interactions with my audience. So whether that's reviewing my reviews, speaking to my customers in real time on Twitter and offering that customer service portal like we talked about before, 1/3 of my content will be based on my audience. So again, it's about understanding what is right for you and your business and what is going to resonate with your customer base the best. As I've touched on before, once you have your calendar set, it's really useful to start scheduling your posts in advance using an online tool rather than updating constantly throughout the day. It frees up your time and your mind to focus on other areas of your business, because it's not just all about social media. For Essex startups at the moment, we use Hootsuite, which offers various levels of packages although sadly, the free usage package has just decreased massively. You used to get like free 30 posts a month, and they've just reduced it down to 5, which is a bit ridiculous, but such is life. Scheduling tools not only allow you to schedule in advance, but also to post to various channels in one go, which can again reduce your jobs, and to have a complete overview picture of what your content looks like across the week or a month. In this example, this is our social media calendar for a few weeks ago. I like to look at it in the image format, but to fit it on this screen, I did it this way instead. And of course, there are other platforms available. There's later.com, which was introduced specifically for Instagram because that is notoriously hard to schedule to. There's Loomly, there's Monday Marketing, Sprout Social, there's loads. And Lauren mentioned Get App earlier, and that lists a whole bunch of scheduling software on there, so that's really good. Most of them will come at a price, sadly, but they'll offer you at least a free trial to see how you get on with it and to see if it works for you. Buffer, I think, at the moment are offering a free package, which I'm actually going to look into for ourselves. And some of the platforms have their own inbuilt tools, including Facebook and Twitter. There's like TweetDeck. You can forward schedule on Facebook as well. It's just Instagram that can be quite tricky. Right. Then there's customization. So when thinking about the content to create for your platforms, remember to keep in mind that you should customize your content for each network, because as we've said before, they don't all work the same way. They don't all offer the same user experience. So understanding how they operate and how your customer base in particular uses each one will help you in deciding what to share and where. So for example, Twitter has a character limit, no more than 280 characters in a tweet. So you need to be clear and concise and to the point with this particular channel, and tweets with images perform much better in when you look at how they are responded to than those without. Facebook allows you to post longer messages, obviously, but this can sometimes put people off. So again, make sure you're still to the point, don't ramble on too much. Short videos, images, link posts all perform really well on Facebook. So just make sure again, the imagery links to what it is that you're talking about. Instagram, primarily heavily image-based. So your content needs to focus on interesting and relevant photos and short videos as we move towards like the IGTV. And like Lauren said earlier, Instagram were the originators of the stories. And these are great because you stand out right at the top of people's feeds. And with the amount of content these days, posts can be easily lost in the void. So these stories, which are now appearing on Facebook as well, are really good ways to grab those people's interest straight away. Then there's Pinterest. It's also very image focused, but people will save your images to their own accounts and to their own boards. So with this particular channel, you need to ensure that your photos are more pinnable and really grab people's attention. And then there is the more professional network like LinkedIn. It's a lot more formal. It's a lot more professional in general. So you need to ensure that your posts are suitable for such an audience. People in LinkedIn are usually also hoping to educate themselves in some way or further their careers. So it's a different type of approach to consider maybe to the other more mainstream platforms. Don't forget to announce yourself. Once you have all your platforms set up and a plan for how you're going to utilize each one to your benefit, don't forget to tell people about them. Add buttons to your website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, things like that. You can add links to your physical marketing materials or the packaging of your products if you have them, and traditional advertising. Reference your platforms in your newsletter if you send one out and link to them. And to those maybe on an email list, just send out an email saying you can now get us on social media and link to each channel that you have. Make sure to announce yourself and where people can find your content. Also, don't forget to cross-reference between the platforms. So let your Twitter and Facebook followers know about your brand new YouTube channel. Make sure each platform has some form of link to other platforms, and you can do this quite easily in your bio or about sections as well. with everything ready and in place, the question now is, when is the optimum time to share my content? Sadly, there is no magic fix. This isn't a one rule fits all type of situation. You need to take, again, some time during your planning processes to look again at your audience. What are they doing? When are they looking? What patterns of behavior are they showing on each of the platforms that they use? So for example, football fans or any type of sports fans are really likely going to be on social media just before, during, and after big matches or big sporting events to talk about what's going on at the time. So if, for example, you sell West Ham merchandise, then look at when the West Ham games are, get on social media around the same time and see how fans are interacting on each channel, what they're talking about, who they're talking to, what they want to hear. In these instances, a well-timed ad or a post could work wonders because you've got this captive audience who are in the moment talking about the exact thing, and then you come in with like, buy a West Ham scarf, and they're like, yes, they've just scored a goal, I'm definitely going to buy a scarf now. You might also be targeting commuting office workers, in which case grab their attention on that rush hour when they're on public transport trips, where they might have some more time on their hands and they're looking for content. Even more specifically, I often link stuff back to nursery and children because that is my life at the moment. So you might have a product, for example, for a breastfeeding mother. You could time that post at 3 a.m. and she might see it during one of her night feeds. Not only does this reach her at a time when she's not probably being swamped with other content, but it also shows that you're understanding her as a customer and you understand her patterns and behaviors, and most importantly, that you care about her as a customer. So as we can see, like I said, sadly, there isn't a right time to post for everyone, but there are right times to post for the people that you want to reach. And understanding your customer is what will drive your social interactions and engagements. So that brings us to our final breakout session. I'm aware we are now at 4:45 because me and Lauren have not kept it as clear and concise as we could have. We haven't gone on for quite some time. What we'll do is we'll give you, should we say 15 minutes?
Yeah, I didn't know really if you were all in the same breakout room before or not, but maybe you all want to go into one room and...
Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 left. What we'll do is just quickly pop you in a breakout room, and if you just have, take the next 10 minutes and create a social media post for one of your case studies, identify maybe 1, 2, or 3 different channels, so maybe like a LinkedIn and a Facebook and an Instagram or something, and come up with a social media post that you think would reach the audience of the case studies you've got. Hopefully that will make sense. Sorry if I've sped through the content quite quickly.
Yeah, I think if we say, maybe if you guys take like 10 minutes or so, and then we'll just come back and get you just to share your screen with us or something and just show us your post. Just explain why you chose what you did and just a little bit about it, and then we can wrap it up after that, and any questions that you might have. Okay.
Right, so I'll pop you into breakout rooms now, and I'll get you back in about 10 minutes. Okay.
So, really, we just wanted to see, whoever wants to share their screen if you created your post, and just give us a little bit of info on what you did and why you did it. Is there one of you that wants to share what you've done?
Yeah, so I've got the image. I don't have the actual written post yet. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, it looks good. I do realise we kind of didn't give you that much time.
No
to be able to create it all. Brilliant. Okay. So if you haven't got the actual post, did you come up with an idea of where you might post, on which channels you might use and why and things like that?
Yeah, so this is just mainly for Instagram, and then I think we were kind of thinking about just adapting it for Twitter and Facebook possibly. but mainly we thought about it as an Instagram post, and I think the rest of the team was sort of working on the text when we got pulled out of the room. So I don't know if you guys have it yet. I think that's a no. Oh, chat. All right, okay. So I'll just copy that and put it in a chat so everyone can see it. Oh, you can see it because I'm sharing my screen, right? So that's fine.
Yeah.
So, marine jewelry, sustainably sourcing jewelry for your formal, casual, and everyday wear, protecting nature and creating waves in the fashion industry sustainably. #marine jewelry, #beach clean.
I really like that. I really like making waves. Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant use of taking topical content and adapting what you say and what you see to fit into your own narrative. And I really like what you've done here. We talk a lot about Canva, but I think everyone knows about Canva now, don't they? And how fantastic it is.
Yeah.
Creative.
I think, like you just said about making waves as well, how I mentioned earlier about those call to actions where you can sort of embed it within your own slogans and what you say. So it's kind of like that. You're saying, like, we are making waves, and it's, sort of in not just like the jewelry aspect, but because we're trying to help clean up the beaches and stuff like that as well. So I think, that's really good. And I like the look of it as well. I think it's that sort of post. I don't think things like that do stand out as well when you're looking at your brand and your the theme and like your color palette and things like that. Even though it's a black and white image with obviously the color, is that like a green that you've used?
Yeah, no, it was just it was like one of their posts that they had, and we just sort of adapted it, changed it.
Yeah, because I think actually that color, even if you didn't choose it on purpose, is a great color for that like sort of sea green sort of look, which actually goes with it quite well. And
I like how like clear and crisp and understated it is, because a lot of brands like to shout about themselves, obviously, but this kind of speaks for itself, but it also backs up that like sustainable idea of less is more and things like that. I really like it.
Brilliant. Obviously, like we said, we did rush you getting to do this a bit, so you obviously haven't got the full social media post. But I think a lot of you, obviously, that we know that we've worked with, you'll probably have created quite a few social media posts yourself for your own businesses that you're currently working on. Did anyone have any other questions about anything that we've covered today, or are you happy with what we've covered? Obviously, we can, we always still like to keep engaged with you and have one-to-ones and stuff if you're struggling with anything, or get even more specific advice from externals that help us as well if you've got something specific that you want to know. But any questions you can ask us?
I've got a question, but it's more about like your sort of experience with social media. Do you like doing it, or would you rather not? Because I think I'm at a point now where I'm kind of, I don't love it.
I know what you mean. It can be a big job, like Alexa said. I think it isn't just one of those things where you just go, I'm just going to post whatever. It's actually a really big job to think about your content and what you're going to post. To be honest, I don't actually mind doing it. I think it depends if you're a big social user, like me, to use yourself, and I do tend to use it quite a lot personally. So then I'm not too big an issue, like for business purposes. I suppose I would say I quite enjoy creating them. Alexa does most of the stuff for actual Essex startups, so I don't know how you find that, because I think obviously, like she's mentioned, using scheduling software can help, because then you aren't bogged down with it as much because you're planning in advance for it. But what do you think, Alexa? Do you enjoy doing it? Or?
Yeah, I do enjoy doing it. One of the sad elements of life and having a job and a business is that I enjoy doing social media, but find that I just don't have enough time to do it. So if you follow our channels, you might see that the posts are a few far in between. Obviously, we've got content of events, so I can talk about the events that we're putting on. But what I would like to be able to dedicate more time to is researching external events that I can share, external funding opportunities. And again, it goes back to talking about everything that links to startups. So we're not saying we're the be all and end all, like you can only come to us for funding and advice. We're here to help you as much as we can by sharing as much information as we can. I'm really sorry if you can hear that banging. So yeah, I do enjoy doing it. I wish I had more time to dedicate just to that. Whereas when you go up the levels, like in the university, they've got a huge marketing team and they have one person dedicated to just social media, which would be brilliant, but departments unfortunately aren't there yet.
Our team's not big enough for that, unfortunately, but
and obviously with it's you, isn't it? And you're doing your marketing strategy, your social media, your finances, your actual product or service. So yeah, it's difficult to balance your time, but like we've said, it's about figuring out if it works for you. If you're not getting great engagement or you're finding that your audience aren't really bothered about their social media as much, then yeah, dedicate less time to it. That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Did anyone else have any other questions about what we've covered today, or anything else you want to ask? No. If you don't, obviously, if you do think of something afterwards, you can always just email us. We've got the startups.
Yeah, I was just going to say as well that the inspiration part can be the trickiest, because my other half is an electrician and I do his social media, and there are only so many times you can post a picture of wires and then it's like, right, what do I talk about now? So yeah, it is understanding your business, but trying to understand your customers. And so sometimes I'll put in a picture of him and my daughter washing the van because it's quite cute. And again, it just gets people talking about you.
Yeah.
Used to get people talking about you is good.
Yeah, like we said, it's bringing you in your personal side of it into it, and not just talking and just about the business, because then people relate to you and resonate with what you're doing and like, oh yeah, that's nice, just to see the real people behind it. So, and that's what they're buying into essentially. So I hope it's been useful for everybody. I know we had a bit of connections issues possibly, Abra, with you. I think you got cut out then and we tried to put you back in. But this will be put onto our YouTube channel. So if you ever want to watch it back again, that will be, usually it goes on within a couple of weeks and it'll be on there.